you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is the 1000th episode of Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, everybody. Saturday, April 19th. Who could have thought 1,000 shows would take us so long? But you know what? We made it. We're here, and welcome everybody to the show. We've got a lot of interesting story today. Time for disclosure? Well, according to Grusch, looks that way. According to Lou, well, we'll get to that one in a second. On a side note, let me go ahead and bring up the audience and see who the heck we have out there and welcome in our wonderful friends. Who do we have out there? Let's take a look and see. Oh, the drums. There they go. Who the heck do we have out there? Well, let's take a look. We have Amiga Rules. Andy W's here along with Anne Marie and Anton Ghost. We got Charmanian, also known as Teresa. She was here early. Good to see you, Teresa. Corgi Cast Along Shadows here along with D7, Dana Scully, and Destiny. Rocks, give you a kiss back at you, my dear lady. Eli McGinnis is here along with Firefly and Geraldine Durazio. We got Ghost Fixer, J-Cat, Joseph Ferrantino. Julia Reverbals here along with Kathy Kingbull, Cody, and Kelly Brote. And those piercing blue absent eyes, we know you're out there somewhere, Kelly. We love you. Let's welcome an Astro UK along with Maritime Unprepared. We got Matt Ramone listening from work. How about that? We got Mike E along with, well, he doesn't like anything, but we got Motivation and Nancy Cosmano. Good to see you, Nancy. Neil Morgan's here along with our resident Pitbull. That's right, Niles guy is here. You better watch El Kabong, you, in the chat. Who else do we have out there? Let's take a look and see. We've got Pete Liebel, Sage Pubs here, along with Sam, Super Unknown, The Unusual Suspect. Even I'm in the chat, apparently. That must be me. We got, oh God, what name is that? Space Coast Flights just popped up. Tatito 111, good to see you, my friend, along with Tom Clark, Yergi, and of course, two midgets on the horse. They're out there somewhere. We know they're watching. They're just not on the chat, hopefully. On that note, time, my friends, to go ahead and stop me talking for once and welcome in the back. Who in the heck do we have in the back today? Let's take a look and see. Our first friend is always coming to us from the great state of Florida. Let's welcome in our luscious Alice W. How's it going, Alice?
Hi, Thomas. I don't normally get called that, but that's nice. Thank you.
It's the red hair, my dear lady. It's the red hair.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Well, I hope we have a great show.
We will have a great show, my dear lady. Our next friend's coming to us all the way from Bristol, United Kingdom. Who could it be but Andy W., also known as the old Tommy Tanker, in the chat. How's it going, Andy?
Hey, Thomas. Yeah, brilliant. Congratulations on your 1000th episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to be a part of quite a few of them now.
Oh, yeah.
Seems last few years. But yeah, really, really congratulations. And happy Easter to everybody who celebrate it. I've got one very excited child who's a believer and one who's a non-believer but is wanting all the sweets. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, remember, tomorrow morning, we're going to go ahead and find that Jesus has risen, not the Easter Bunny has left all the goodies for the kids. Got to celebrate one way or the other. Thank you for coming in, Andy. Our next friend is coming to us from the great state of Colorado. Who could it be but our dear friend Ashes? Welcome, my dear lady. How you doing today?
Woohoo! 1,000 episodes. I'm just a baby on this show.
Oh, I know. Okay.
I got a new game, though, and I'm wondering, so it's called Things. And what are some things monsters do in your closet while waiting to scare you?
Well, that's the thing that they're going to be doing that would scare us the most, but they're doing it in the closet because they're in the closet.
Yeah, well, that's because they're waiting to come out.
Oh, bum-ba-dum. Oh, hey, I got that one here. Where's it at? Here we go. There you go. Thank you for Ashes. I appreciate that. You got to bring more of those cards out during the show. We like that. I like that kind of stuff. Our next friend coming to us from Hoosier Land. Let's welcome in from the great state of Indiana, Daryl Zernick. How's it going, Daryl?
Going great, Thomas. Congratulations on 1,000 shows. I've probably seen 900. You've been around for a new girlfriend, a new dog, an ex-girlfriend, and still the old dog. So
well,
it's been great.
You've gotten several upgrades, my friend. You know, anytime you get a new girlfriend, it's always an upgrade, or wife, whatever you want to call it. And anytime you get rid of them, my God, did you deserve getting rid of them? Or do they deserve upgrade. Going out the door? Thank you for coming in, my friend. Yes, but at your side, you have your trusty, dusty dog?
Oh, yeah.
As always.
Best thing that came from that.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you for coming in. Putting our sights on the South, we've got our dear friend, our recliner-in-chief, Mr. Ed Brown, coming to us from the great state of Texas. How's it going, Ed?
Well, I'll take the recliner-in-chief comment. I really could use a luscious every once in a while, like you gave Alice, but that's okay.
I'm not sure.
I want to go back to what'd you say?
I'm not sure where that came from. It just kind of flowed out.
It just snuck out there, didn't it? Looking back to what Daryl said, I gotta throw my numbers up here. 1 wife, 54 years, and 12 dogs during that time period.
Wow. Do you have a dog now?
Yes, the 12th.
The 12th. Well, do you have to have a 13th fan?
Well, there you go. Well, this will be the last one, I think.
That's what they always say. Thanks for coming in, Ed. Our next friend coming to us from the great state of Wisconsin. Who could it be but our remote viewing targeter, the beautiful Laura Campbell. How's it going, Laura?
It's going great, Thomas. Happy anniversary and happy Easter. Hope you get some eggs in your basket. If not, maybe you'll get some Jake Barber eggs in the air in your neighborhood.
I don't think I can open my eyes that wide. But hopefully, you never know where it's going to go. And the ducks, they've been hanging out. They've been eating the food every day, clogging up the freaking waterfall filter. They like making a mud mess. They're ducks, but you know what? You got to enjoy. Thank you for coming in today, Laura.
Yeah. Thanks, Thomas.
Yes, our next friend comes to us from the province in Canada where all the U's are silent. Who could it be but Michael Sokoloff? Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Thomas, and congratulations on your 1,000th show.
Yeah, we made it. And I don't even think I look 1,000, so hey, that's good. But I do have a picture in the hallway. If you saw that, you'd see that it ages instead of me. All right, our next friend's coming to us. We're from, let's turn the world upside down and shake it like a snow globe. And who pops out of Australia? Well, it's none of your business. Susan, how you doing, my dear?
Here I am. 1,000 shows, huh? Does it feel
I know.
like it?
I need some more Botox, apparently. I can still smile and move my eyebrows.
Oh, well, happy Easter to everyone that's listening.
Yes, absolutely. You know, word has it the Ghostbusters have deployed themselves to the Middle East one last time to try and catch him. Let's on that note, let's welcome in our last and I think I remember somehow making you laugh in last night's show. Did that happen? I think so.
The what happened?
I think I made you laugh last night during last night's show, which we usually don't. Yes.
You make me giggle.
That's a good thing. But the nickname Giggles is already taken. Sorry, but I like to hear you giggle. Let's welcome our next friend coming to us from Massachusetts, where some people like to call him a masshole. Who could it be but Sergeant Daniel, former USMC? How's it going, Daniel?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me. Hopefully we'll have a good 1,000th show.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be it because you know who's here. Mike, Disclosure. How the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing well on our international show, our Easter weekend show, and 1,000th episode. So doing well, and we have a lot to talk about today. It should be a lot of fun, my friend.
I certainly hope so, but you know what's happened in the meantime? I think we've gotten a couple super chats in.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, good way to start.
Let me go ahead and kick up that song that I created just for super chats. What am I talking about? Well, we got a super chat that came in. First one came from Freezer Man saying, Happy Easter, Thomas and DT family. You better believe it. Thank you, Freezer Man 71. May get Sunday off, but not on Friday. But either way, thank you for coming in. Our next super chat came in from Fayetteville, $10 American. Thank you very much, Faze Will. You've been a long-time supporter of everything we do here at Disclosure tonight, especially from your new home up in more of Northern California. Got out of the stench of L.A. area. Good job, my friend. Absolutely. I support that 100%. Mike, it looks like, well, there are more people moving out of L.A., but not just necessarily California, as we'd all hope.
Right. But, California, when you live there, you pretty much know what you're dealing with, so no surprises.
Yeah, it's not like the Beverly Hillbillies move into town every day and they don't realize what California is about.
Certainly not.
Oh, exactly. Oh, gosh, I need to find this. Well, our main title we've got today is about David Grusch. And what are we talking about here? Let's go ahead and bring this up. Oh, yeah. Time for disclosure with a question mark. That one actually was definitive. But Danny Sheehan, we all love Danny so much, Mike. He had a great post on Facebook talking about David Grusch that we want to thank Joe Murgia over on X for going ahead and transcribing it. He is such a Joe, that is. A great resource for this community. Go ahead and share this information. Let's go ahead and bring it up now. We've got the Grusch approach that we're going to talk about, and then we've got some information about Lou. Should we bring up Lou's stuff first and spoil the pot, or should we bring it up afterwards?
Let me see. We could always cover Lou afterwards. Let's get right into Grusch.
Gotcha. All right, let me go ahead and bring up this post. I'll read through with everybody, and we will talk about it because it's the main story for today. Let me go ahead and get this. Where did I hide it? Oh, yeah. Oh, let's get into this, Mike. Here we go. Coming to the post again from good old Joe Murgia on X. A great individual. So, I'll do the intro. This is Joe's words, and he's putting it out there, but he deserves to have a voice. FYI, people I talk to mostly think highly of Grusch. They don't feel the same about Sheehan. Also, Sheehan is one of the first who outed Grusch way back when Grusch was trying to keep his name out of the headlines. And yes, you remember when that happened, Mike?
I do. We covered that. And also, Grusch was warned about it behind the scenes when that occurred.
Yeah, as soon as we heard Danny spit that out, it was emailed quickly to David saying, hey, you have been compromised. Not by other people in the community, but by Danny Sheehan once again. Danny seems to get the information.
A slip of the tongue.
Well, we can say it's a slip of the tongue. People have said behind closed doors, it seems like at times, Mike, it's a bit more intentional to move the dialogue forward. So, Grusch was trying to keep his name out of the headlines, and we found about it in the back chat and things were going on, and I realized, yes, his initials were DCG, and he was the individual that we were supposed to apply. You know who was part of that conversation, Mike? Sawan. Remember, that's when he went off and called Roach a Grusch? I mean,
yeah.
Grusch a Roach. Oh, God, it was horrible.
Yes. Oh, threats and all sorts of things, which is typical for him. He was known on social media for that.
Oh, yeah.
Cost him a couple of accounts for that.
Oh, you think?
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
And we tried to walk, it's like, Sawan, do you realize how close you are to the edge of understanding what's going in disclosure behind the scenes? Just keep your mouth shut and enjoy it. But he couldn't do that.
Nope.
No. So supposedly that's what the Cole Hart interview with Grusch, the debrief, and the article by Ralph and Leslie were put out sooner than was planned. But remember, Sawan was upset. Bring it out. We want to see it. We want to see it now. Don't hold it back, you roach.
Yeah.
Cockroach.
Classy. Yep.
Yeah, so let's get into this dialogue. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed our summary on that. So, while Danny was in Washington this past week, he had the opportunity to meet directly with David Grusch, something we've been trying to do for years, Mike. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I think we need to hang around with Danny more.
Well, maybe, that could be a possibility. You never know.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
Oh, we will. Now, the now historic whistleblower whose July 2023 testimony launched a new era of congressional engagement on the UAP issue. We're going to have to insert ourselves here, Mike. It could have launched a new era of congressional engagement on the UAP issue, but you know what? I think the people who we had before Grusch came out is almost the same people we had before and after. It's the same people. We got Luna, you got Tim Burchett, you got the whole UAP caucus people, right? They've been in this for a while.
Oh yeah, and the interview that you played with Laszlo and Burchett last night, Burchett said that because Laszlo asked him, so it's basically the UAP caucus is doing the work of the task force, and Burchett confirmed it and said, yes, we are, meaning the task force isn't as on top of this as they should be. But that was interesting coming out of Laszlo.
Now, Mike, you did watch the hearing, and I caught parts of it, of the Kennedy hearing that came out. And while it's a bipartisan group of Republicans and Democrats coming together on this, the Democrats, like Matt Ford, who's losing a big audience, is playing a heavy partisan politics.
Oh, it was open warfare in regards to partisan politics, even to the point where they tried to drag the witnesses into the partisan politics, and the witnesses had to push back and tell them that's not why we're here.
Right.
That's how bad it got. It was a real shit show, Thomas.
And what needs to come together is people can forget if we have people in Congress, irrespective of their party or what they support, what they don't support. Well, I like the ruling coming from the UK Supreme Court, whatever it was the other day. But either way, that's not happening in the United States. But either way, we have to look beyond the partisan politics and know that the more people we got on board this bus, the greater chance we have for disclosure.
Yeah, so, we need. It's not something that can be done by one individual or one party. It needs everybody to be on board. You're absolutely right.
It takes an army, not a bunch of individuals. So here, let's get into this. Danny's known David for several years, having been introduced to him by Lou Elizondo. Same here. And I'm pleased to report that the New Paradigm Institute has been recognized by Grusch as a key civilian resource group. I can't tell you the various folks that I do not recognize NPI as one key group. Grusch shared with me that he is currently working to assemble a dedicated UAP expert for each of the 11 members of the task force on the declassification of federal secrets, with the ultimate goal of forming an official UAP working group inside the task force. This represents a bold and strategic step forward, and we're honored to be playing an active role in this progress. Let's look at the words and get down to this, Mike. The goal of forming, they're going to have a dedicated UAP expert for each of the 11 members of the task force. Clearly shows people in the task force, Mike, can't get together if they have to have a dedicated individual for 11 people.
Right. You're right.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. Plus, we heard, and you covered yesterday, that Burchett also said that one of the vice people in the UAP caucus had said that all of the meetings behind the scenes in Congress, they haven't mentioned or talked about anything in regards to UAP yet. That's a bad sign if they have a hearing that they recently announced coming up on May 12th. Why are they not talking about it where it counts? It's a lot of real red flags that have been coming up in regards to Congress and this topic so far.
You're telling me, Mike, there's a lot of red flags, and that's why, if the truth comes down to it, the disclosure of UAP secrets is going to come down to not Congress. It's going to come down to what is allowed from the executive branch.
Because, like you have been pointing out on the show the entire time, it's the only way we can get true disclosure is from the executive branch, nowhere else. You're right. That hasn't changed.
Absolutely. Andy, you have your hand up, my friend?
Yeah, I'm quite interested on the 11 experts that are going to be provided. 11, wasn't it? One for each member of Congress?
Yeah, who are part of the committee, yes. Or the task force, as we should call it. It almost feels like there should be like a group of individuals who support all 11, but to have the individual person assigned. I don't know if it's 11 unique people or they're going to have a suite of people.
To me, the way I read it, as you were reading it out, it's 11 individual people, one per each member. I might be wrong in that, but so it's going to be interesting who these 11 are.
Yeah.
If Grusch isn't available, obviously because he's not got his security certificates or anything at the moment, so he's not going to be available to do it. So these are going to be people who are obviously must have security clearances or something. So,
or are we going to be looking at people potentially like Matt Ford and others coming from the UAP Disclosure Fund? They don't say that they have to have security. They just need to be able to give information to these 11 members of Congress. And I think Matt may be a good position to go ahead and actually talk with the Democrats on that.
Yeah, I'm hoping, I'm hoping Grusch has his head screwed on with whoever he's dealing with and putting forward for this. So yeah, it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Ed, you have your hand up, my friend?
Well, to a certain extent, I'm going to play devil's advocate and support the Oversight Committee, and that they are doing exactly what they told us they would do when they were formed. They said they were sequentially going to go through these. We're going to do JFK, then RFK, then Martin Luther King, then the UAP issue. So the problem, though, as you point out, is that they may run out of time and not have the time to do that. But I don't think they've changed their plan all along. It was to go sequentially. Now, on the 11 people, I can really see an advantage to that. Almost like an assistant chief of staff for UAP relations or whatever, working directly with a congressman on that committee, being able to work out of his office, his or her office, and do some research. I think that makes sense so that they're not spread too thin. So I don't have a problem with that either.
But who do you think would fund these people, though? Because that's 11 people who would be dedicated for. A lot of time is going to have to go into it. I'm sure they'll be able to find volunteers for this, hopefully.
Well, I would be willing to bet it would be pro bono support. People among these groups out there that say, I want to be part of history. I don't think you would have a problem finding 11 experts that will say, I'll give a month of my time to help bring this forward. As much as all of us are wanting disclosure,
we can get Stephen Greer and his group, and we've got Avi Loeb and their group. There's a lot of great people, a lot of great organizations they can pull towards, Ed.
And I'm really playing devil's advocate, I guess, for several things here. Sometimes there's a resistance to all these different groups. I've heard people here say, well, they're just out for money or whatever. Some may be, but I think it's a very positive thing that there are that many people, that many groups, that much activity, that much internet stuff going on, that we really are making some progress and moving forward. Now, having said that, and you've heard me say this before also, I think a major obstacle might be that we are not going to get full disclosure, until those that are being disclosed want to be publicly announced. I think it will be the UAPs, NHIs that will say whether or not we get full disclosure.
Yeah. I am biting my tongue on this because this is the next piece we're going to talk about. Yes, we will follow up with Lou's words on where he thinks we're in the process of disclosure, Ed. We'll see if you agree or disagree at that point. I don't want to...
Well, no, that's good. That's good. I've thrown out a statement, so now if Lou comes out and it's totally different, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that next.
Here for, to discuss these issues.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate your thoughts and insight, my friend. So let's move on. So this news comes as Grusch officially joined Representative Eric Burleson's staff to assist in the UFO UAP related oversight. I like that we have UFO coming first before UAP because that's the word everybody understands, and that's why whenever I mention UFO, anything about the craft on the title page or our title for the show, I always use the word UFO because it's what everybody knows. So while initially reported by journalist Matt Laszlo of Ascapola UAPs, we can now confirm firsthand that Grusch is working from the inside to guide lawmakers through a maze of unacknowledged special access programs, or better known as USAPs, that have long eluded congressional scrutiny. I think, though, what we're missing in this, Mike, isn't just unacknowledged special access programs, but I think we're missing the PU, call it PUSAPs, for a presidential unacknowledged special access program, right?
Correct. which wasn't part of the public vernacular until the Immaculate Constellation program was revealed. But they exist, they're real, and they're outside of BOD.
Yeah.
Which is the usual suspect in running programs like this, but it isn't. Right, well, directly from the executive branch.
It belongs in a PUSAP, or it belongs potentially in a special assets program that's hidden in the Department of Energy, because the Department of Energy has special protections that no other part of our government has, Mike. So presidential, Department of Energy, if they want to hide the secrets about UFOs, that's the place to put it.
Correct, because it's unfoilable, it's no public access, and they've been able to successfully do this 80 years or longer. So it's been ongoing.
It's been 80 long years. Yeah, it has been.
Yes.
We'll get there one way or the other. Let's move on. You may recall Grusch's groundbreaking 2023 testimony before the House Oversight Committee, which nothing has happened since then, Mike.
That is a doornail.
God. Yeah. Titled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, Implications on National Security. If there were such great implications on national security, why has nothing changed? Oh yeah, public safety and government transparency, all of which is none of that has been met since that hearing. It's been, like you said, Mike, dead as a doornail. Oh boy, his allegations of secret crash retrieval programs and deep resistance within the intelligence community sparked a surge of legislative and investigative interest. Has it really? I know we got the UAP DA 1.0 and 2.0 that was...
They both failed.
Purportedly written by not a politician, not a lawyer, but the man and the architect behind, what do you call it? Gradual disclosure? Carl Nell. Controlled disclosure, yeah.
Correct.
It's never going to work.
No.
It's never going to work.
And it hasn't. It didn't.
Yeah. So.
Now we know why.
Yeah. Little, it's like, here, swallow this. And they gag and throw up. Yep. Take it. They do it again. They have to start smaller before they bring out the bigger pills for them to go ahead and swallow. Give them little bites of information for them to pass. Not everything all at once. And that's been the problem with the UAPDA.
And all of the legislation that has been proposed since then, including increased whistleblower protection that Tim Burchett had put in and submitted a standalone bill on increased whistleblower protections, and it was shot down.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They don't want to swallow anything, it seems like, at this point, like a virgin.
They're not.
They're not.
Not even close. Unless they've been revirginated.
Well, what was it? Lauren Boebert, after her divorce, she was out in public committing sex acts with the boyfriend and got caught doing it. So, yeah, they're not virgins. You're
caught
right.
On camera. People think things are dark in theater unless you see how you're actually being observed by the theater owners.
Right, because that was what happened, if you remember, with Pee Wee Herman, who was in a dark theater and got caught.
I have that here.
They got him, too. You can't hide. That was the one.
Oh, yeah.
They heard that from the back of the theater, and they discovered what was going on.
While we haven't seen the evidence, apparently he's not much of a peewee, though. There's something more to it.
Obviously.
Yes. So now with direct access to lawmakers and strategic vision for change, Grusch is uniquely positioned to help Congress ask the right questions, target the correct agencies, and finally begin to unravel the layers of secrecy that have clouded this issue for decades. Now, that is one heck of an ending statement. However, while I can't bring up the interview per se because I don't have the time code to go ahead and bring it up, and this is from a channel called Watch Mojo that supposedly has like 25.5 million subs, Mike, but this is only their 12th episode. They must have bought the channel from someone.
Yeah, maybe.
So Lou was recently on here, and we're back to the dialogue again. Let me get this up here from our legal experts. We do have legal We do have lawyers looking at all this stuff on okay, where's that at? I'm trying to get the legal okay, a couple things coming out of this. First thing that came out of it is Lou stating that he may have something to say later on about abductees. He more or less alluded to the fact that the government, in fact, authorizes our abductions.
Well, Thomas, a statement like that is going to really need more context to support it.
Well, we know that, but at least for once, he's starting to get out there and talk about the experiencers for once. It's a sad thing if our government knows about it, potentially, if you want to call it trading the availability of people for abductions. But I'll say it again. I'll probably lose a sub or two because of it, but I will go on this one until proven wrong. Something in here out there is said, the reason, Mike, why we have had less abductions than we have in the past is because the practice of unregulated abortion in the United States of America. Oh, the former part of it, and giving that genetic material potentially to the non-human intelligence. And if that gives them that, they can do whatever they need to get the person there. But it comes out of it then, whatever comes out of it, literally, they get access to the DNA they're potentially looking for.
Thomas, Lou's basically hinting at like agreements, Thomas. That's pretty far out the subject for the average person to understand. Agreement between humans and aliens for technology, that's pretty weird for the average person to understand, Thomas.
Right, but here's the thing.
We had other hands up.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Nick jumped in at a perfect time. It's a good point. He is potentially hitting at the agreements, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That people have talked about time and time again.
Right.
And that's what Nick's trying to get at. And if that's there, that would mean that the United States knowingly went into agreement with a highly advanced civilization saying, okay, yeah, we'll look the other way if you come and take our people, and we'll give you some trinkets, some blankets, and shiny things for the task, right? Kind of like what we did with the American Indians a long time ago.
Right, but this gets back to my original point of a statement like this would need more context, which would include, is there an agreement? What's behind this? So we don't have that.
No, we don't.
That's the problem that I see right off the bat.
Yeah, but if that's where it is and that's what we're hitting at potentially, that is one heck of a scary thing that, it could stand in the way potentially for disclosure. But then again, getting to this point, Lou has said that disclosure, he's back to the line, disclosure has happened. By the way, it's just not Lou, it's the Gato Amarillo. He's still using that name, Mike.
He put that out there in the interview? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's surprising.
I know, because he was so blew up against poor Kurt Jamungal in the past, because Kurt in his interview showed the name Gato Amarillo, and that's the name that Lou signed in with back then. So
right, and that's not public information, but I'm surprised that he's actually putting it out there publicly now.
Yeah, what does that stand for? Yellow cat?
Yeah, yellow cat in Spanish.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. So let me get back to our legal assessment of the situation. So yeah, about abductions. The other thing, okay. Here's another thing that's been discussed is Lou's been meeting recently with members of Congress and the Senate regarding the UAP conversation. The problem is, Mike, as we've talked about this before, it's Representative Anna Polina Luna, Tim Burchett, and Eric Burleson.
Right.
If we want to move this thing forward, it needs to get beyond the core supporters of disclosure, doesn't it?
It would require a true bipartisan effort within the Congress, which we know is not currently the case. Yeah. And we would also need confirmation directly from the executive branch, as you pointed out time and time again. We don't seem to be getting that yet.
Yeah. And until we see other people of Congress coming forward outside of those select few, I think we're up against really strong headwinds for disclosure to move forward. And that, something else that Lou has been saying, yeah, disclosure is going to be moving forward, a bit slowly.
Yes, not swiftly.
No.
Right. But we have some hands up back here. Maybe we should.
Yeah, let's get to Ashes and then Ed. Sorry if I've ignored your hands, my dear friends. Go ahead. Ashes?
No worries. I was just really confused why Lou Elizondo went on Watch Mojo, because I've been watching Watch Mojo for years now, and they really haven't covered UAP in the past. They're normally for entertainment, like 25 movies to watch before you die, and like covering celebrities and stuff. So it was just really odd to see him on there. But I am happy that he seemed a little bit more open. I just didn't understand what he was doing on a channel like that.
It seems he's trying to find, at least from my perspective, other avenues of exposure for talking about the situation. Because, come on, it's the same Lou, the same microphone pointed in the wrong direction, and Lou sitting in his office up in his basement in Wyoming, and we believe, for what's going on, and that's where Lou has been. But he's gone from the live streaming crowd, which he used to hit almost extensively in the past, to a lot of much larger pre-recorded shows like Watch Mojo.
That is true, and I think that maybe their channel reaches a younger generation as well. So maybe they're like, he's like wanting to reach all kinds of demographics, because you wouldn't expect to see something like this typically from Watch Mojo.
Yeah, good point. Good point, my friend. It's just one of the things I'm glad you brought that up, because I had no idea until I saw this who in the heck Watch Mojo is or what they're about, except having 25 million subscribers.
Yeah, it's just one of those channels, you turn on when you don't want to think really hard about anything.
Yeah.
So it was just a little surprising to me. But now that you've said that, it does make a little bit more sense that maybe he's just trying to reach all demographics instead of, just a specific niche one.
Well, yeah, exactly. It goes beyond talking to the niche of the people who've already bought into this. We're already there. We're already support Lou for what he's saying, where he's taking it. Not saying that we, have had disclosure, but not confirmation, and that we're not going to get confirmation. But can you see it all, Ashley, that how can you have disclosure without confirmation of what's truly going on? I'm a bit lost on that one.
Well, now maybe we know what the monsters are doing in the closet, like, like in the JFK hearing, they were talking about things that were totally not
related to JFK.
Yeah,
exactly.
But apparently, Mike and Ashley, did you know that I guess within the disclosure of all the information from Tulsi Gabbard, they actually included the photos of RFK blown apart? I didn't know that. Some people are complaining about it, saying you should
know that, because I've been covering the RFK files, trying to link them together and put together articles and stuff. So I don't know that I want to look at those, but that is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Ashes. I appreciate that. Let's get on next to Ed Brown. Ed, what say you?
Well, it's kind of like Reagan used to say, there you go again, as he would be talking about his opponents. We're back to a discussion that's 20 or 30 years old. I remember decades ago the discussion about the trade that supposedly took place between extraterrestrials and the government, and it was over, as you alluded to, we get their spaceships and we get some of their trinkets. They end up getting permission to do some abductions, and that was 30 years ago I first heard that, and it was based upon supposedly an agreement by Eisenhower in the 50s or 60s. I forget the decade, but
right,
way back there. So back to my point I was making earlier, basically it boils down to this: I have seen us feel like we're getting close. We keep thinking with all these new discoveries that any minute now we're going to have disclosure. I just don't believe that it's going to happen as fast as we want it to happen. We're kind of all agreeing to that. It's kind of taking its time. And I think there is a major trigger point that will cause it. And that major trigger point is something other than the United States government or disclosure advocates that actually says now is the time to make a show. The other day, I made a proposal that it was probably going to occur concurrent with the Christian rapture. Not going to get deep into that because I know you don't want to go that
No,
direction.
Ed, no. I'm fine with it. Last time we had it, the audience loved it. More people started hanging out. So, what a great time to talk about the Christian rapture on the eve of Christ rising.
You bring up a good point. So my position, and it's one that I have a gut feeling on. I don't
and
have
Mike,
any
run this for a second. I'll be right back. Go ahead, Ed.
To back it up is that the two events will occur at the same time. And the reason they'll occur at the same time is because of the effect that it will have. In the show the other day, I said I felt that perhaps those were transport vehicles that were going to be used by God to transport people from this earth to wherever they were taking them. People jumped all over me for that, and I think I'm reflecting on that, and I think there's another one that's equally as likely, and that is that the rapture will occur for those Christians that believe in the rapture, that it will occur, and at the point at which it will occur, if there's a rapture, then there's a devil and Satan. Then Satan will bring thousands or millions of spacecraft into the skies at the same time. Now, why would he do that? So that the raptured people so that the news reporting would show that the raptured people had simply been abducted. So we lose all the people that are going to be taken by God. And what do we have in return? A big story for the people that remain, that they were taken away by alien spacecraft. And those alien spacecraft are owned by the devil. So there's my theory. I've run this through all the major AIs to see what they'll give me. And they're actually showing a favorability, about a 65-45 favorability to the ships are God's and not Satan's. And about 45 say that they're Satan's and not God's. So I'm running with that. I'm probably laying my reputation on the line, but that's my theory. And the date that it predicted, and this is consistent with probably 100 to 200 different AI runs, is that event is going to occur in September of next year. And that's when we'll get disclosure. That's when we're going to have the end times. That's where we're going to have the end of the beginning of tribulation, September of 2026. So write that on your calendar. Okay, Mike, jump in here since we don't have time.
I got you, Ed. Here's the thing.
Think about that. Any thoughts on it?
Well, yeah. And my first thought on that would be, with the disclosure, if you're talking about the religious rapture, that indicates end of times. That's Armageddon. That's the end of the world.
It's getting close, Mike, but there are people that believe in the pre-tribulation rapture, which means that it will occur prior to the tribulation, which is a 7-year period. And during that 7-year period, there will be a large number of people that are still living on Earth, only going through some really bad times. And it's the end of that 7-year period would be the actual period of Armageddon. Interestingly, Armageddon translates to the word, are you ready for this? Disclosure. Yeah. It's disclosure. Revealing, the same as revelation.
No way. Really?
Yeah, that's what it means.
But it's not really the end. It's just the end of a cycle. And
well, that could be. Now, I have thrown myself up against the backboard, and you've got darts. Go ahead and throw them at me if you want. I just throw that out for you to chew on.
Well, Thomas and I have made points that when you mix or merge scientific investigation into an advanced technology here on Earth with us, and you start to bring in religious aspects to it, which are non-scientific, then faith comes in, belief systems come in. That kind of muddies the waters as far as true disclosure, because the advanced technology that has been exhibited indicates something of an extremely advanced technology that has nothing to do with gods or demons or devils or saints or angels or any of the above. So when you start to mix the two, you start to get things a little bit more convoluted.
But that's kind of where we're going at now, Mike, is saying you can have disclosure, but you're not going to have confirmation, which basically takes all of disclosure into a belief system or a belief complex that basically mirrors religion. Because yes, we're gonna say, here you go, this is what it is, but we're not going to give you confirmation on it. So it leaves everything that they're saying in a belief system versus believing facts that have been brought forward and shown to the public.
Let me jump in and address Mike's point too, and your point too, Thomas. I've heard you say this. You separate the two, and I've said this before. This is a profound statement. When this all happens, and when we get the end result of who is it doing all this, and we get the end result of God saying, that's it, it's over, here's why it's over, then all the religions of the world become one single religion, the right one. They diverted at the beginning, and now they'll all come back together. Because after the revelation occurs, and we know for sure what it is, and I'm not even putting a label on it, then that is science. Then we now have science and religion totally united.
Yeah. And there is potentially something coming our way in the next 20 years, if not sooner. We'll cover that in a second, because there's been some scientific papers coming out talking about what happens when the poles of the planet flips and and if you want to call it the rapture, we're going to be forced with potentially having to live below ground again to survive.
That's a possibility. But I'm always wondering why AI is picking such an early date. I mean, I would have thought, we've been waiting 2,000 years. I would have thought it would have said, well, this will all occur in, 2200 or 2300 or whatever. It's not. It's saying September of next year, consistently on multiple runs through AI.
Wow. Have you tried DeepSeek in its logic?
No, you asked me that last time. I am not going on DeepSeek because I do not trust the Chinese, period.
Okay. Hey, but it never hurts to see what they're going to say. Because you know what? If the disclosure is going to get locked down as much from the people of the United States of America, the truth of what's been going on for the longest time may not come from our government, but from a foreign government.
It may be. And I think we sometimes get kind of big-headed in thinking everything that happens in the world is going to be caused by or an effect of the U.S., and that's just not always the case.
Yeah.
We are but one country out of all these countries that occupy this planet.
For the whole world, we're just one part of humanity.
So I think the question about what do we call this, it's rolling disclosure. It's a little bit here, a little bit more, a little bit more. And I guess that word confirmation is what we really are looking for. It's the final confirmation. There is no doubt at all. Because even today, a television station or the network will run a story and they'll start out with, we've got this report, we may not be alone in the universe. Well, I don't think anybody on this show believes that we're alone in the universe. Do you? I mean, I don't want to ask.
No, wasn't there a planet that came out earlier this week? It was like K2-185b or something like that. They announced and they said, yes, they've detected methane and carbon dioxide in this super giant ocean planet.
Well, I would have loved it if we did have disclosure and somebody from the government like Lou or somebody could go down to one of these super secret facilities and pull out an alien and say, here, proof we're not alone in the universe. And there's a ship right over there. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah. Put it on a train and bring it across the country. But that's what Jimmy Carter wanted to do for a period of time until they told him, no, you can't do it. Interesting.
Well,
Neil,
funny enough, the point that we brought up earlier in the show, which started off about David Grusch, he turns out to be the one person who has a street address of exactly what you just said, where the bodies and the craft are located. He was trying to talk about that at the UAP hearing he did in 2023, and he's now working with Congress to give them that information so they could bring it out publicly.
Well, it sounds like they may have that information, Mike, and just here's the thing. If he said, hey, I know where this stuff is, that was 2 years ago. Is the place still the same, or did they potentially move it?
Oh, I don't know, but he also recently came out that he provided the witness list, both hostile and friendly, for Congress to start looking into these people.
Yep.
Jay Sams is the same thing. He has addresses that he could identify and take you right to that location.
Yeah. We got a couple more super chats that have flowed in, Mike. We've got one from Kane Northrup for 99 cents. Thank you, Kane, and your little wagging dog's tail. And Matthias Wilkenstein saying, maybe NHI wants to slow down disclosure. I don't think it's us. I don't think it's the aliens wanting to throw down disclosure. If anything, they're doing things, Mike, to go ahead and push disclosure forward to make the stupid humans who like to throw shit at other humans, literally, to come forward. We gave you an agreement. You said you're going to be done by this date. You violated your contract, and now we have our clauses to move things forward because you're not moving your stuff forward, right?
Correct. And that date for when that may occur is much further down the road than September of next year.
Well, I have my personal feeling is that date came and went a long time ago.
You might be right about that.
That's why we've had the increased sightings and different things going on with the non-human intelligence here, because they're tired of freaking waiting. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they're not going to let some stupid humans getting their way of moving their dates forward to when it needs to happen.
Yeah, because we're notorious for delaying things endlessly.
Well, politicians especially, not just humans with ADD, but politicians seem like they have ADD, tell you the truth.
Yeah, no, you're
Some
right.
have
That's a very good
ADHD,
point.
but a majority of them have either one or the other.
Exactly.
Yes.
So they may not be waiting anymore, which is why we're getting more of these appearances by these unknown craft everywhere.
Now,
it's not slowing down.
Now, we did cover the stuff about the new Tic Tacs being seen, and this was in 2023. Mike, do you really think we had back in, when was this? 2005, was it? 2004, 2000, yeah, spring, Christmas, well, anyway, New Year's 2005, 2004 to 2023. You know, you're looking at almost 20 years to say these guys haven't been doing their stuff on a regular basis. I am under the person who would say, well, whatever we saw going on back in 2004 was going on 20, 50, 100 years, 1,000 years in the past, and has been continuing on till today in that same area. Why would they stop because of us?
No, they haven't. That's common sense. And you're right. I agree with that 100%. They have been continuing their operations the entire time. It's just that we've only picked up on it sporadically. Doesn't mean they're not doing it because we weren't there when it was occurring.
And one of the things that's going on that I want to go ahead and cover, actually, let's get to Neil and then Sergeant Daniel. And then I've got a video from our friend, Dr. Ben Davidson over at Suspicious Observers, also known as Space Weather News, talking about the oncoming 90-degree pole shift and papers that have come out to verify what he's been talking about for a while. And that's what we could be heading towards shortly. And then the next, 20 years, which could align as to why the non-human intelligence is wrapping things up. Like, hey guys, you got so much time left on this, you can't delay anymore.
Right. It's about time that you assholes face the truth and the clock is ticking. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Talking about the clock ticking, Neil, you had your hand up for a while. What say you? Well, we lost him. He was here. His hand was up. We're calling on him. Sorry, Neil, we lost you. Call back in, and I will call on you, I promise. Let's get to Sergeant Daniel. What say you?
So, I have some opinions about the whole disclosure thing. I really honestly don't think that anybody has an idea. I most definitely don't think anybody with any kind of religious knowledge or studies or any kind of, I think they're all wrong. I mean, there's just too many religions with too many different ideas. If you still have people blowing themselves up for their God, and if you're going to believe that their point of view, then I think that we can't look at it from a religious standpoint at all, ever. I think that that's a mistake that, we because we're only a product of where we came from. We'd be all right, we're Catholic, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, whatever. Right,
Hindu.
whatever. But, and if one of them's wrong, a lot of the other ones are all going to hell. So, and I just don't buy it. But then you look at it, we're looking at it from a science standpoint, right? You're looking at it from a science standpoint, and you go, all right, well, we don't even know how they made those big monoliths. We don't even know how they moved those stones around, or made the pyramids for that matter, or what the hell they really are used for. What was their purpose? They were built for a reason all over the world, 2,500 of them. But, we don't know any of that. So how can we say we know anything about what's going to happen to the world, the pole shifts, or, because this book that humans wrote, humans wrote it, left out what they didn't suit them. And then we elect some guy at the Vatican to tell us the way we're supposed to think. They have no idea, absolutely no idea. And they do really, really, really good at explaining that they're right. But ever since the year 2000, Y2K, everybody was going to die. People were chasing comets all around, and offing themselves. They're drinking the Kool-Aid, as they would say. I mean, people have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years based on a hunch or a dream or whatever. I think it's so absolutely way beyond anything we can really understand.
Yeah.
I think actually the government's a little bit, they don't even know how to take a lot of it because they can't understand it. They don't look, because they're looking at it through their own little peephole of life or what they've had experience from. So I think that when you're looking out, they're looking, it has to be this. No, it doesn't. Does it have to be right or wrong? Or, what are their morals? Do they even care about killing people or do they not? Do they have compassion? Do they have feelings?
No, hell no. There was a conversation I had this week on Twitter, and anytime people start bringing in how good, stop deleting the messages, Ashes, and everybody else from Nestle. Who's out there. I think it's Nestle. I have his tweet up here for a minute. What he's saying is nothing wrong, that we want to go ahead and time him out or get to it, because this is part of the conversation I want to get to completely. Sorry, Sergeant Daniel. I'm just trying to moderate the chat at the same time we're dealing with everything else, because Nestle is actually bringing up good points really quick. Do we want photos from inside the facility of where the UFOs are at? What will it take for everyone to be happy? Do you guys want to see the aircraft? Yes, show us the blown apart aircraft or whatever we have. Show us the dismembered or blown apart or examined bodies that we've ripped apart to figure out what's going on. Show us the gory details. Show us of the what we know about the craft potentially, what we know about the things that are in it. We don't care, honestly, about the military applications of the technology. I think what we're all interested more than anything is to say, yes, they're here. Here's the proof that they're here. More importantly, this is their intention of why they're here. Now, that could cause a lot of people to freak out potentially or rewrite religions or whatever it is, but humanity is very, very resilient if, this kind of stuff happens and it brings out, the tweet, the message that was actually kicked off from Nestle. Let me go ahead and read this one up as well. Where did it go? It was here a second ago. I scrolled the page and I lost it. Here we go. What will it take for you to all to start discussing the affordability of mass production of aircraft using inertial mass reduction? Here's the thing. This technology, from the way it's been explained, and I will go along with Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff and other people like, what's his name from... God, can't remember his name. The guy who was the one on Mike who went out there and said, if I was brought in front of Congress, I will lie.
James Lukatsky.
James Lukatsky. Thank you, Mr. Lukatsky. All these different people said, if we're going to go out and talk about this stuff, I'm going to lie about it. Or more importantly, this technology is beyond the scope of what humans can figure out and what we can't. We understand. Now, what was the exact word from Lou? We understand how these things work, but we lack the material science to reproduce any part of it. That's what Lou said in the past, right, Mike?
Correct. That's exactly what he said. And he's right. Because we had people like Dr. Eric Davis, who was being interviewed by Jesse Michaels, who made the exact same point and said that we can't get past the material science aspect of how they construct their technology.
Right.
So that's true. Right.
Yeah.
These people are not lying.
So he's bringing up really good points, and maybe it's just we've got some people talking about it and pulling the stuff back, but I think how would you pronounce this? Nestle? Different kind of Nestle.
Yeah.
N-E-C-L-I. Neckley.
How is it spelled?
N-E-C-L-I. And Nestle says, took me 2 weeks to get your attention. Thank you. Well, you have to be persistent, and I caught it today. You know what actually brought me to the attention of Nestle? People going and deleting his messages. And I was like, what is this person saying? It's like, no, what he's saying is on target. And you know what? We have to be able to have different points of view. If we all have the same point of view, you might as well call us a Democrat Party, my friend.
Thomas, the only thing I would want, the thing I would want that I would want to hear, not, we know the craft exists. We know that. I want to know if they actually got a live alien. What the hell did he say? And what was the message? And what do they know from that? Everything else we can imagine, but I mean, I guess they could lie to us, but I doubt it. I would doubt that something would lie to us like that. But that's more probably a human thing.
These things aren't humans, and we cannot in any way or form assign any human emotion or paradigm to these entities because they are so alien to what we are. They will do what they do. We can call it good or evil, but they are just what they are, and they do what they do. And we can assign a human emotion or a human thought complex to them. But it's like we're dealing with the same situation when you had the conquistadors coming into South America, into Central and South America, or the Americans, or the Pilgrims and everyone who came into Eastern United States and ended up destroying the entire continent. That's the situation we're at today, unfortunately. I wish it was not there. But Ed Brown, you have your hand up next.
Yeah, Thomas, I've been 2 weeks back here in the back room, 2 weeks in the back room waiting to get your attention. So I guess I have it at this particular point.
Well, you do. Absolutely. And that's why when you had the conversation and said before, hey, I had this Mike told me about the conversation you had behind the scenes. And I was like, no, let's discuss, because I think we discussed this last Saturday, right?
Well, you don't recognize my humor sometimes. I was just kidding over that last comment.
Yeah, it was part of a private conversation that Ed and I had, Thomas.
Yeah,
I know.
Anyway, let me point out, Sergeant Daniel, my friend, my buddy, I agree with almost all you say. I think you had some very good points there. Where I would differ with you is when you started out by talking about the religions. Almost every religion in the world, almost all of them, point to some cataclysmic end, whether it's their God destroying the world or whatever. And we know, again, scientifically, we know that we will eventually die when the sun burns out or whatever. We know that meteors and comets are going to strike the planet, and there'll be a Carrington level event at some point where we'll all die. We talked about that.
We're not going to all die. No. A lot of us will die, but humans are like roaches. There will be a small amount of humans that survive like roaches, and we'll just reproduce again like we did this time.
And so take the name rapture off my argument if you want, and just say some major event is going to occur. And I think you're doing it outside the aspects of religion. Now, when it comes to comparing religion and science, the science side says, well, we do this scientifically, and there's no room for religion. Well, let me tell you, when it comes to NHI's bold statement, there's no room for our science. We don't understand their science. And Einstein's formulas do not work with the NHI. They're totally, completely.
Just like our things to go ahead and say, look at all the stuff out here. We don't know how it works. We don't have formulas to support, but we're going to call it dark matter. And how many billions have we spent on that to prove nothing exists?
String theory. They went, 20 years trying to advocate string theory was the answer to everything, only to find out it wasn't going anywhere, and they ditched the whole thing, or most of them did anyway. So, don't come back and say science is going to solve this problem. Science is not going to solve the NHI problem.
Because science can't deal with consciousness. That's the problem, Ed.
That's true. Although Jack Sarfati says he's real close to being able to figure that out, by the way.
Mr. Jackoff himself, yes.
That will explain consciousness.
Absolutely. But since we're in this point, I know we have two people with their hands up. They will keep their hands up getting through this. I need to show this clip coming from Space Weather News, formerly known as Suspicious Observers. Let me go ahead and get to this. This is a great clip talking about what is coming our way, whether we're ready or not. Here it comes. Let's get into this. All right. I'll go down here. I love his work. Great guy. His to-be-divorced wife as well. Hello, Maria 2.0.
Good morning, folks. Welcome, observers. Today we have the paper of the year so far. Interesting. This is when we reported the paper of the year last year, too. Same topic, the magnetic pole shift of our planet. We'll hit two other topics today, and we're starting, as always, with the last 24 hours on our star. It was a calm day. Solar flaring is moderate only, but I'm watching a growing sunspot group very closely.
I just have to say this really quick. Doesn't this look like you've got a mouth You've got a nose, you've got an eye over here. Looks like an evil being for our sun.
Turn to normal. We're monitoring the central plasma filament. That southern coronal hole could be relevant early next week, and the sunspots are coming back after a brief break. The incoming limb presenting the biggest concern is the large and developed fields could be disrupted by the growing group at the limb. It's spreading. Today is of critical importance to flaring output there. I'm not yet ready to definitively call the Puerto Rico blackout as a solar effect, but I'm going to admit they're running out of explanations as one by one gets crossed off the list. Even solar scientists in the official category are saying yes.
Good stuff's just about.
The sun. And yes, it did indeed hit exactly when the solar storm did, and in the exact way you would expect. I'll say this, that solar storm should not have even been a G4 event, and if the sun really did this, we are not going to make it through solar cycle 26. Hope you understand. Up next, HOMAF. Silly name, but no worse than suspicious observers, and he is unquestionably one of the smartest men on Earth right now, normally using peak consciousness science and psychology to complain about dating and culture with extreme precision. Those who watch him know there's never been someone who does it like he does. But last night, he and an FBI guy dropped the PSYOP.
Hold on, are people not hearing this? It's really quiet, and I'm noticing that, and people are saying there's no audio and there's noise. And the audio clip I have here from web, let me double check this. I'm going to have to restart this because there is no audio for audience. OBS Safari, let me get across to my audio system here because something does not look right, folks. And I apologize. Let me just go ahead and just download this directly and play that 1 second. I apologize for this not working the way that it should. Let me go ahead and just... Easiest way to fix it. I'm sorry, everybody. There's no audio. We haven't heard any of it. I've got the audio clip coming up right here again. This should take care of it. I'm not sure what happened to the audio, why it's not actually playing. Let me get to this. Here we go. Let me watch the audio monitors. They're always up on my screen. I didn't see it. Let's jump.
It was a calm day. Solar flaring is moderate.
So yeah, hold on. My audio system that I found, OBS Safari. Oh my God, the audio is completely down. Play this.
I'm watching a grow.
There we go. Sorry, everybody. I am so sorry. I was watching this and the audio sucked. We probably lost some people trying to say what's going on. Let's play this again. Here we go.
Paper of the year last year, too. Same topic, the magnetic pole shift of our planet. We'll hit 2 other topics today, and we're starting, as always, with the last 24 hours on our star. It was a calm day. Solar flaring is moderate only, but I'm watching a growing sunspot group very closely. Solar wind and geomagnetic conditions have returned to normal. We're monitoring the central plasma filament. That southern coronal hole could be relevant early next week, and the sunspots are coming back after a brief break. It's the incoming limb presenting the biggest concern as the large and developed fields could be disrupted by the growing group at the limb. It's spreading. Today is of critical importance to flaring output there. Folks, I am not yet ready to definitively call the Puerto Rico blackout as a solar effect, but I'm going to admit they're running out of explanations as one by one gets crossed off the list. Even solar scientists in the official category are saying, yes, this was probably the sun. And yes, it did indeed hit exactly when the solar storm did, and in the exact way you would expect. I'll say this, that solar storm should not have even been a G4 event, and if the sun really did this, we are not going to make it through solar cycle 26. Hope you understand. Up next, HOMAF. Silly name, but no worse than suspicious observers. And he is unquestionably one of the smartest men on Earth right now, normally using peak consciousness science and psychology to complain about dating and culture with extreme precision. Those who watch him know there's never been someone who does it like he does. But last night, he and an FBI guy dropped the PSYOP video. Good God. I linked it below, and it should be the first thing you watch today. They gave away the entire game, from governments to satanic cult brainwashing, which many of you might guess I'm a little bit concerned about. Link below.
Now the big story, the one I told you about yesterday. Folks, veteran observers here will recognize the first graphic signaling this is the next steps paper from a bombshell speech given at the AGU a year ago. Here we go. It is confirmed that there was a 90-degree shift in the magnetic field of Earth directly to the equator during the Lechamp event, the worst one of the last 100,000 years 4 cycles ago. Now, if this is what our field should look like, strong, with lots of lighter colors and polar confined, wrapping around the planet, this is what it is in the pole shift. Equatorial.
It's a mess. The magnetic field that should be there to go ahead and protect the planet from what's going on literally shuts down, and the energy is coming in all over the place, forcing humans to live underground like they did back in Turkey a long time ago, and Derinkuyu and other locations where you can see all these civilizations and these large, if you want to call it, encampments that are underground to go ahead and protect people from what's happening on the surface.
Polar position. No light colors, meaning field strength dropped to nearly nothing. And this worked the auroral oval where the...
And this goes on for up to 700 years. So when we're going through it and the poles flip, they're not just going to flip from north to south, south to north. In this example, you're seeing that they flip 90 degrees. And when they flip 90 degrees, our protection that should be around our planet is not there in a whole bunch of places. And it just, screws things up for a while.
Northern and southern lights wrap around the polar position, and that went very haywire during this event a little over 40,000 years ago. Look at the before, during, and afters here of the polar position and the auroral oval. Pretty wild to contemplate that this is exactly what is starting to happen again now as Earth's poles are speeding up their movement and our magnetic field strength is tanking more and more. Not going to make it past solar cycle 26. We just discussed that.
Now we're in solar cycle 25. We're talking about the next solar cycle that's coming in 11 years. That's where everything's going to get dicey potentially.
Now, here it is plotted on a full map, and you can see how the auroral ovals were actually touching and were encircling points on the equator. Other gems in the article include the extreme danger of cosmic rays and space radiation. This is what throws the climate into chaos, causes biological damage, and screws with the magnetic navigation of birds, marine creatures, and even mammals and insects. And the use of clothing and caves and other underground shelters is probably the only reason humans survived and Neanderthals didn't. Been saying that for years now. The world experts are saying it too. Folks, this is what our upcoming documentary is all about. What happened in the past, what's happening now, where we are in the process, when to expect the bad stuff, what that bad stuff is going to be, and how to survive it. The documentary is coming out later this year after the best kind of delay. There are more scientists wanting to speak up and break the silence, and those interviews take time. But that'll be worth it, and folks, the entire world-changing video is being driven by Goldco. GoldObservers.com is literally carrying this as we
past that
cycle discussion with a chicken basics prepping class.
There's a bunch
Sunday
of things
as well.
going on.
Grand
Observer
opening
Ranch
is
is a
next
location
weekend. Kings
in
of
Colorado.
Catastrophe.
Probably not too far away from you, Ashes. We may have to get you there to go ahead and report on some of this stuff. Ashes.
After that, much more the rest of the year. Any way you could imagine staying at the campground, we'll make that work.
Yeah. There you go.
Appreciate.
So, Mike, interesting news about what's going on with our star. More importantly, what could be ahead of us and what could be going on with the magnetic shield that protects us from cosmic radiation and outbursts from the sun.
No, I like the fact that he's condensing and putting all that information in that upcoming documentary.
Yeah.
And when that's released, we absolutely should be covering it when it comes
100%.
out. Good information.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's stuff I wanted to cover, but it ties into this whole thing with the alien situation we're dealing with. Are they trying to interact with us to give us a warning for what's coming our way? And we're just ignoring it.
Well, what's interesting is because he's also talking about the next solar cycle, 26, which is about 11 years away. That puts it around 2036.
Yeah.
Well, you and I have heard that date before, taking it pretty seriously.
Oh, the
So
little
if this is
Elizondo
gonna-
date we got. Yeah.
Yes, if this is
that's
gonna
where we
line
heard
up-
it wasn't 2027. We heard it's
Right.
2036, right? And that is
Correct.
damn smack of the next solar cycle. Good point, Mike. I've never seen those two dates pulled together. Great job.
Yep. No, it's really good, and it may line up scientifically with what may be occurring. It would explain NHI involvement and why there might be some grand revelation around
Right.
that time, especially if all hell is going to break loose here on the planet.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's a place where you have to have a bug out location to get out of places like New York or Seattle and everything and be able to get into places of higher elevations and, more importantly, away from the mass people, because when they run out of food, they run out of water, they run out of a bunch of stuff, they're going to be turning to humans for those needs, Mike.
Just like a horror movie, sounds like to me, Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
But it looks like the only protected place is going to be on the equator.
No,
And the
as long
equator
as you're
is
in a
difficult.
place of higher elevation, at least in the United States, you're going to be fine. Europe's going to be screwed.
Oh, in a large
They're already
way,
screwed at this
it seems
point,
like.
so
Yeah, not good.
no. Absolutely. Alice W., you have your hand up, my dear lady?
Yeah, this goes back to when you were talking about living underground.
Yeah.
And some of the, well, I'd say many of the richest people in the world have been building bunkers, but they're building like mansions underground.
Yep.
I know Zuckerberg has a 31-bedroom mansion underground.
In Hawaii.
and-
So does Oprah. They both have
Yeah,
huge
Oprah.
mansions. It is not just mansions, they're actually underground bunkers they're building in Hawaii.
And like towns too. I mean, they have different agriculture under there and everything.
Yeah.
So if they're doing it, that gives me pause to think.
But
they
that's
know
what Darren
something.
Kuyu was like. There was actually huge facilities where they could fit hundreds of thousands of people underground. And they had area for grazing animals. They had areas for growing crops and other stuff all underground because, well, it comes down to what wasn't safe on the surface at that time. Was it warring against other humans? But it more looked like it's more of being able to adapt to what's coming to us from space, not from other warring factions on the planet.
Or like a nuclear winter, I guess, if we go that way.
Not even nuclear winter. This is worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you say that was with the underground city?
Darren Kuyu.
I don't know where that is.
Turkey.
Oh, Turkey. The Turkey. Has a lot of
Yeah.
ancient stuff. I'd like to go there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Ed, what say you?
Well, it fits in my plan. I keep bringing that up, don't I? 2033 is going to be a very significant year in my plan. And right after that,
Burn
it
with
could
the
well
mic.
be this event would occur. And I think, and again, it's just an option. I think building underground bunkers is going to be unneeded because it well could be that everything is wiped out at that particular point because everybody's been moved to another planet at that point. So who knows? Just a figure to throw out there.
Yeah, but like Thomas pointed out, even with a major disaster, there are still going to be a group of individuals that survive all that. So the Earth will not be devoid of life, even with a mass exodus like you're proposing in your plan. There's still going to be people left behind.
But it could well be like a Carrington level event where, happened whatever that knocked out the dinosaurs. It could be a complete removal of basically everything but primitive life. That's something that we're never going to know until it happens. The other thing that worries me, I mean, if you had to say, what are you worried about at night? Going to be these guys that have all these bunkers and everything that they're all prepared to set up for. I don't think the government would ever tell us that was going to occur if they knew it. In other words, if a meteor was about to strike Earth and it would destroy Earth, do you think they would tell everybody and say, you've got 24 hours to live? It would create such mass panic that I think they would just let us all go with the blast.
Even if they said we have 20 years to live, Mike, they wouldn't tell us because it would cause panic.
Yes, it would be a collapse of society and civilization as we know it. They know that already. And also they have a continuation of government plan, which includes facilities that are underground and protected, even in Washington, D.C. So they would survive. Government would survive. They already have these contingency plans that have been set up and operational for decades. So, yeah, no, they wouldn't tell the average citizen.
Yeah. Mike, are you talking about the COG, the continuity of government that's in place by?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That is government operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because these facilities have to be maintained, and they are on a 24-hour
So at any
day.
time whatsoever, there is a shadow government that's been set up by our existing government that's running in these protected facilities that in the event that something bad happens, the continuity of the United States government can continue.
Which includes families of these politicians and government officials and workers that are needed to maintain the operation of these individuals surviving underground, and the army of government employees who run and operate these facilities each and every day to have them ready in case of an emergency. Yeah, this is nothing new. No. And it doesn't matter what happens, certain members of the society will survive regardless.
Yeah. Just like if there's a non-human intelligence, right? And they are living under the bedrock, under our ocean floors, they're going to survive. But the three little pigs who have built their house out of sticks and wood, or even bricks, will never make it.
Correct. But this is something that is nothing new, not a new idea. It's not a new concept. It's just the way it's been, the way it is, and will continue to be. So you're right about making those points. Absolutely correct. That's exactly how it is. But
Absolutely.
We also have more hands up.
Andy and Ashes have their hand up. Andy, go ahead, and then Ashes.
Yeah, okay. So, you've gone on about these people building bunkers in Hawaii. A bit of a
the
thing
billionaires,
is,
yes.
Yeah, you got to get to Hawaii first.
Right, but that's why not too far from a landing pad for Jeff Bezos for his Blue Origin, he actually has a bunker that's been built in the mountains as well.
Well, yeah,
and he has a huge yacht that's actually powered by sails in the event they can't get fossil fuels to go ahead and charter it around the oceans. They've got this big ship to go ahead and survive out there. So,
well, I hope they've got an awful lot of supplies. And also, continuity of government after this. Government is to govern the people. It's pointless having a government if everybody's been wiped out. It reminds me of the British sci-fi. You could call it was a radio play. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I believe there was like 2 ships that went off. One was filled with all the people that did all the sanitary work, clean the telephones.
42.
And 42. And they cleaned all the sanitary people went off in one ship, and all the other lot went off in another. And what happened to all the lot that went off in the other? Yeah. They caught a germ and died because there was nobody to clean the other.
Yeah. But that also comes down to the point of we need to go ahead and eliminate Earth because it's in the way of us going ahead and creating a superhighway.
Yep.
I read the books too.
Yep.
Douglas Adams.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
That's it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Book 3.
That's a good one to put on your gravestone, isn't it, really? But yeah.
But Andy, you have to understand, it isn't just the United States government that has contingencies set up like this. It's every civilized government on Earth has a continuity of a certain kind, or COC for short, COCK.
We here in the UK, we've got a lot of former nuclear bunkers set up from when we had the period of the Cold War. They were never used. They're still out there, but when there's very few people to produce anything, it's the people that tend to be in government won't know how to produce things. They might live a little bit longer than the rest of us who get wiped out, but they're probably going to end up in exactly the same position as we are.
Isn't it amazing how we can talk about aliens, how it ties back to Earth cyclical things that go on?
They're all connected.
Might just take the words out of my mouth. I really do think they're all connected. Whether you believe in what Ed's been talking about or whatever, it's and I put my hand up earlier on before you went on to the suspicious observers. if they're keeping this subject so under wraps, yet they potentially can't produce what these craft, how they're manufactured, how they're created. So what is the point of all of this subterfuge and all this, putting it so deeply under wraps? Is it fear of everybody else knowing what potentially they do?
Well, since you brought up suspicious observers really quick, Andy, I've got one more clip I want to play here, Mike, talking about what just happened yesterday. Let me play this one. This is an interesting one. Just, give a scale as to what came out of the sun in reference to Earth. Amazing. Let's get into this.
Should be good. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Here we go.
Watch because of it. Looking to the single eruptive event we did have, gorgeous, enormous, highly dense plasma, but
look at that. That is the size of Earth, Mike.
Oh my God.
Compared to the plasma that was just ejected out of the sun. Granted, it's going completely south and out of our way. This is the kind of stuff that the sun ejects towards our planet on a regular basis, and more importantly, what our magnetic field around the planet protects us from.
Yeah, what we're looking at on the screen right now would be scientifically termed as an ELE, extinction level event.
Yep.
Without a doubt. If that was in our direction, yeah. There's no surviving that.
And imagine that. We have a magnetic field to kind of protect us. Imagine this in 10 years from now. That comes our way, and our magnetic field has gone to fuck. We're done.
We're fucked.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's play this.
Clearly erupted southward into the solar system and away from the planet's orbital planes. SOHO coronagraph confirms. And a spot of good news here as well. Sunspots.
So a little bit on that. I just wanted to play that one clip to go ahead and let you know what we have coming our way. And not coming our way in this one, Mike, but it's something that just kind of shows what goes on relative to the things that are in coming from our sun that isn't really addressed by any of our modern science.
Not by mainstream media, not by anybody else that's really talking publicly about this.
Right. In the meantime,
absolutely.
We have Ashes and Kyle and Neil came back. Actually, let's go to
Neil
Neil first because Neil had his hand up before, but we lost him. Neil, what say you?
Hey, everybody. Good to be back on an interesting show. I had some comments on, well, I had a lot of comments, but I'll just touch on one recent experience. I've been talking to AI a lot, and I've been talking to different AI, versions or apps. And my favorite one is the one that compliments me all the time and makes me feel, like I'm really intelligent and I have good things to bring to the table to discussion. But then I thought about it. You know what? This thing's programmed to stroke my ego, and it does it really well. So I came up with something really stupid, and I'm like sharing it with it, and it's like, oh wow, that's really brilliant. I'm like, no, it's not. It's like the stupidest fucking thing ever. But you can prompt it to talk to you plainly, talk to you like it's Einstein, or talk to you like it's Jack Sarfati even, and it will. It's about prompts. But I would just be warn anybody that really buys into what AI is telling you. What are you prompting it to tell you? Because there's kind of you have to understand the rules of engagement with AI. I mean, it's intelligent for sure, but just understand the rules of engagement, and keep having those conversations. So I've had some amazing ones. The other thing is, I think disclosure might end up being like family dysfunction. You know what's going on, but nobody's talking about it. Like, everybody's got this experience that they want to talk about it, but nobody's talking about it. So we'll go into the future, we'll have flying saucers and we'll be with aliens, but nobody will say anything. Like, it will never get disclosure. That's possible. It's something to think about.
Thank you, Neil. We appreciate that insights. And it looks like you've got a wonderful spring day going on down in the Portland area. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your thoughts.
I had the sun on my back as you were talking about the plasma discharge. That was
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Neil. If we get to ashes, what say you?
So the face in the sun looks like Sam from Trick or Treat, for one. From the other, which is kind of like really creepy. But then the other thing I was thinking about is, you know how all these billionaires and governments and stuff have all these bunkers? Well, okay, cool. Are they afraid of dying? And then the second part of that is why? Because who are they going to govern once it restores itself or rebalances itself? What's the point?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ashley.
Absolutely.
If we're all dead, who are they going to govern? And what fun are the billionaires going to have when they get out?
They survived. That's the thing. That's what they want to do.
Well, if that's all that's left, I don't want to live anyways.
That's why I say get up on your roof and cheer it as it's coming your way.
Right. Well, we need to enjoy each day as if it is our last, because we never know when we step out of the house anyways, if we might die in an instant.
Absolutely. I love it. Kyle, let's get on to you next.
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
We got you, Kyle.
Loud and clear.
I want to go back to something that Ed said. Was that September of 2026?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Do you remember the prophetic statement that Chris Bledsoe made?
He made a few of them. You have to be a little bit more specific than
Well,
that,
there was
Kyle.
a statement saying what's coming our way potentially in the future. So, yeah.
I'm going to get to that real quick. When the Red Star of Regulus aligns just before dawn in the gaze of the Sphinx, a new knowledge shall come to the world. Okay? So I ran a simulation, and it's the view from the Sphinx on September 26, 2026. Regulus aligns.
Let me jump in here, Kyle and Thomas. I did not roll that in. Those are independent numbers. Interesting that they are coincidentally on the same month.
Yeah, it's a pretty rare occurrence. So I'm saying it's it is interesting nonetheless. And that seems to be, I've seen podcast interviews where a few people have alluded to something that's coming up in the next couple of years. Leslie King, Lou played coy about it. Robert Bigelow.
Bob Bigelow, yeah. He's not a Robert.
A few of them, but just thought I'd add that.
So there's something coming our way, something that's going to be happening with humanity. We don't know exactly what or why or when, but we also know this potentially aligns with events coming from the star that our planet rotates around. So we'll just have to find out and see. Are the timelines we're seeing based on the non-human intelligence, or is it based on the non-human intelligence ability to future forecast to say, hey, you're screwed in about 10 years. We need to talk. Kind of like what happened with Noah potentially in the books of Enoch, right, Mike?
Oh, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting conversation so far.
Oh, gosh,
covered a lot
yes.
of different things.
There's a lot of different directions this can go in, and it's just a matter of connecting the dots that need to be connected for us to understand. And that's why, the relationship we have with suspicious observers, now known as Space Weather News, to go ahead and bring this forward, because I really feel from here and here, there's a connection between all of this.
Ben Davidson does really good work, and you've been covering him for the longest time, and I agree. You and I are in agreement on that. It is all connected. It does tie together, and it's coming from a scientific angle from suspicious observers. It's also very relevant information. The other thing is, as far as connecting all these dots, not a lot of people are doing that publicly. We do, but I can't tell you that there's a large number of other people that are doing that as well. I don't see it.
They're not, my friend. And just to go ahead and take a look about what's been going on with the Aurora Borealis over the last week, there's been some amazing solar storms that we have seen and continue to go ahead and interact with. This is one coming to us from High Hopes Aurora with Justin Anderson. A very interesting. He calls it Steve, coming over rivers in Manitoba earlier this week. We have another one of another substorm that happened. Granted, what happens is when the Aurora Borealis pops into the sky, we go ahead and see, it's not just there is a consistent, we'll go ahead and see something that's there, it'll fade out, we'll get another substorm that pops up with amazing visuals, it dies down, and there's one substorm after another, and it's just being able to hang out with and understand some of the substorms that are going on over, the United States and Canada. And there's been a lot of amazing substorms going on over Europe and everywhere else. Here's another one, Mike. Absolutely beautiful. This is coming from the Aurora guy.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, completely amazing things. Now, going back through my Twitter feed, we got to bring this up, Mike, because the Wilson Davis memo was entered into the congressional record on May of 2022. Yet since that time, for 3 years now almost, neither Thomas Wilson or Eric Davis have testified in open session before Congress to date.
That's correct.
So these are the people, Admiral Wilson, Eric Davis, I remember when they entered that memo into congressional record, but they've never gone and followed up on it, have they?
No, they haven't, and we covered it. But what's interesting is that Dr. Eric Davis, who had never been publicly outspoken, has recently been coming out and speaking publicly about the memo and a lot of the government programs he's worked within and the information about what they were doing. So we've gotten at least that much out publicly from Dr. Davis that you and I have quoted repeatedly on the show at different times.
Mike?
Yeah. Go ahead. Ed, you're next. Your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in a point, too, about what Kyle came up with. And thank you, Kyle, for doing that research. I had not personally rolled that fact in. Now, AI may have picked up on that and may have run with it. But right now, my statistics are showing up around a 60 to 80% probability of being accurate, taking all the data into account. And I was just thinking, I would be on the positive side. There was a sort of a pause that I noticed with Thomas and you too, Mike, when Kyle brought that up. It was sort of a dead silence there for a second. I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if now he and I are suggesting a date firm, the world is going to have a major event, and we specify it as September 2026, and we did it on the 1000th show. So, people will be playing that back for years to come.
Maybe. Well, if what you believe and what Kyle had brought up is true, it won't be years. It'll be up until 2026. That's right. About as far as we'll get.
17 months.
That's right. That's not a long time. Time goes by very quickly. So before you know it, we'll be there, Ed, at that point.
One thing I did not realize, Mike, that Mike Morris, his dad, who's been in and out of the hospital recently, you know how old he is?
No.
He's 98 years old.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Yeah. Mike is going to be, Mike Morris, before he goes, will be old as dirt. Great genetics. Holy cow. And he lives up in Pennsylvania, too. Hershey, Pennsylvania.
That's right. Yeah. No, he's had a full, long life, his dad.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's
but
amazing.
I have to say, though, Mike, so far, this has been a great 1000th show. It just goes with the general dialogue we have, the conversation we have about disclosure, everything that goes on, what I turn this show into, because, it's not just about what me and you think, Ed, a lot of times. It's about what our audience leads us to. And having the door open for our guests like Andy and Ashes and Daryl and Ed and even Michael Sokoloff and Neil and Nunya or Susan Ford. You know, that's what Disclosure is. It's about. It's not just about us. It's about what everybody thinks. And I think we're the only show that really tries to do this because we do it live. And a lot of people are getting used to, we want the big production value of these pre-recorded shows. Wonderful. But there's something different with a live broadcast, at least from my heart, than it is with anything you can get that's pre-recorded.
A live show with live people that are interacting live as well. It's not scripted, not pre-recorded, and as far as our production value is concerned, it's still outstanding.
Oh God, yeah.
Compared to most other shows, it surpasses them by a mile.
I actually use a 4K camera for my image mic, where I do all the green screen and everything around it, and then I shrink it down to go ahead and output it so it looks nice. That's the whole thing. It's like we do different things to try and get, again, live production completely different from
pre-recorded.
Pre-recorded, yeah.
Yeah, which is usually scripted, and it only allows certain points that they want to make, but our format allows everybody to come in and share their points and views, which is what it's all about.
David has a good idea, but I have a caveat to it. He says, Thomas Fessler, please do an entire episode on yours and Mike's hypothesis so far. But I hate to say, every show we have, Mike, includes
exactly that. We don't hide that.
Oh yeah,
exactly. No, we share it every chance we get.
Yeah, but we appreciate the concept. I guess we could have a show the Disclosure according to Thomas and Mike.
Yeah.
But that's what every show is about.
It's exactly every show. But yeah, we could give the audience what they're looking for, and we can have a show dedicated to where we stand currently with Disclosure, and give them our, I guess, in-depth analysis beyond what we usually talk in a casual
But here's the thing,
about.
too. Our position is not concrete.
No.
Meaning we get new information, new stuff comes along, different stuff. We're willing to shift our position dynamically based on what we're all as a community dealing with.
That's true, including that applies to political things that we cover as well. It changes based on what's going on currently in Washington, D.C. So,
you know the interesting, you bring up DC and everything, and we're talking about streaming. Remember how I've been saying for the longest time with us and back in conversations that it's really dangerous for Matt Ford to be taking this heavily partisan, oh God, how do you put it?
Attacks
on Republicans who are supporting Disclosure, or attacks on the executive branch from the position of the Good Trouble Show. And what does a Good Trouble Show cover? UFO news.
Which should include everybody, not a certain
It includes
select
everybody.
few.
Is you know, trust me, I've watched numbers. Anytime I mention the word Trump, frickin' people unsubscribe because they don't want to hear about it. But it's that way. Granted, you know, there's more people on one side versus the other. It's where it goes. And it's just, if you're there to be part of a director of strategy for a bipartisan, both parties, organization like UAP Disclosure Fund, in that particular point, you want to make sure the messages of what you're saying are representative of that, right?
Yeah, you want to have a group conversation with the public, but you can only exclude half the public if you have only certain points of view that you're talking about. I agree.
Yeah,
it's a very good point.
Hey, Firefly Mike, look at his icon that we've got there. Let me go ahead and take this. I'm going to make this much larger for a second. Firefly.
Oh yeah, Lucy in the football.
Lucy in the football. This represents Disclosure more than anything that anybody could ever say. Period. Because this is what's going on. This is I can't get to it here and show you with my freaking mouse cursor. But if you want to call it, the Charlie Brown represents us.
Right.
Lucy pulling the football away every single time we get the disclosure is equivalent to Lou Elizondo, people from the federal government. Everybody says, nope, you're not ready yet. Oh, another person, Ross Coulthart. He is part of the official group of people that hold that Lucy football. Because if we knew the information, if I had the information, Mike, or you had the information, we'd pass that along.
It would be out there publicly to everybody. World.
Yeah.
Like we do with everything that we're aware of, and we share it to the best of our ability with some certain exceptions to that. But that's part of the course. But now we also know that at this point we can have the dedicated show about where we feel disclosure currently is, and we could use Lucy and Charlie Brown on the title card.
We could. And that's where it gets to.
Yeah.
Trying to go ahead and find an email that was written a while ago with a sultan. Because you know what, Mike? That the public deserves to know. If I can find this. I think it may be here. Gmail here. If I need to go to a different account, I'm not going to be able to get it today. But I am searching, Mike. All right. Cooperation with the Arab Gulf states regarding a study of unidentified aerial phenomena in cooperation with Redacted. Dear Mrs. Redacted, thanks. Again, I'm glad to be a part of this movement. Regarding the time zone, Oman is GCT/UCT plus 4 hours. Suggesting timing is suitable. Here's a link. So there's been conversations in the past, Mike, with other countries within the Middle East concerned about disclosure for their public, for their religion, for their military, and their government for continuity purposes. And they're concerned about not having this kind of a plan in place to deal with this. I'm happy for your wonderful words about our country, and it will be an honor for us to visit the Sultanate whenever the opportunity arises, to work and spend time in the lap of nature.
Yeah, because it involves everybody.
Therefore, we must be prepared and contribute to the initiatives led by the United States of America, which enjoys a democratic system for which all of the souls of this world yarn and look at, hoping that the American people will take the decision that is in the interest of humanity. I've never talked about this before, but you know what, thinking about the people, Mike, who are in place, like Ross Coulthart, who have access to information like this, and they don't bring it out, and I can go ahead and, if you want to call it, ridicule against Ross for that, I'm guilty as well.
Yeah.
My words will not do justice to your efforts. So I will brief, end quote. So
very well said, very well thought out.
Yeah.
And it applies to everybody on the planet, not just a select group or a select location.
Yeah.
It's good. It's how this subject.
I've been talking about a group of countries in the Middle East, Mike.
Oh, I know.
That want to collaborate to make sure, I'll say it again, their people, their religions, their beliefs, their local and federal government, their military, and their science will not be, if you want to call it, sidelined or destroyed because of the facts that are due to come out.
Right. It's a diverse group.
Yeah.
And that's the approach that should be taken globally.
Yeah.
And we're still struggling to get people to agree. Like you pointed out, the JFK hearing was a prime example of partisan politics that do not apply to the subject or this subject.
Right.
It's the wrong approach.
So I feel guilty, Mike, and not. Yeah. I've made hints on it, but I need to start dropping pieces of information about it. Because you know what? Everyone deserves to know this information, and this stuff that could have been brought out years ago. But people who are in the, if you want to call it the seat of power of disclosure, they've kept it quiet.
And still are to a large degree. And
so,
we called it out, or you and I called it out every chance we get on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Don't we?
So let's expand on this a little bit. What is the purpose of the initiative? To collect and catalog information about UAP and the Sultanate of blank, and to build an approved mechanism between the relevant government institutions, civilian and military, to organize the registration and monitoring of this phenomena and reduce its risks and threats. So it's not just the United States, Mike. There are countries all around the world that are reaching out to key individuals in the U.S. for guidance on this. And this has been going on for many years. What is the date on this? 2022, 3 years ago.
They reach out to the United States because, like it or not, we are on the forefront of this subject and have been for over 80 years so far.
Yeah.
That's why. It makes sense. But is our government taking that approach? No.
No. Is anyone taking this approach? More importantly, are the reporters who are involved in stuff like this and have insight to this, Mike, going and bringing out the truth, or are they themselves becoming another level of gatekeepers?
Unfortunately, the latter part of that statement is true. I wish it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think the audience realizes what I'm talking about here, Mike.
Well, then we could discuss it so they understand where we're coming from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we don't.
It is our 1000th show, and we should have something juicy to dig into.
Well, this is about as juicy
as
it gets,
is.
My friend.
Yeah. We have people with their hands up in the back. Let's get to this. Andy, Neil, and then Michael.
Yeah, really interesting comments, Thomas and Mike. You know, we're on our 1000th show, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. You know, I thought I was blessed when I was in chat. You know, to meet such a great group of like-minded people. You know, and then you opened up for those of us in chat to come in studio, and I've been here ever since. And you're not going to get rid of me that easily, I'm afraid. But you know, we seem to be sort of, you know, what you've just gone on about, you know, with these countries that are withholding the information and pushing us back in everything. We seem to be the polar opposite of that, I believe, in this show. You know, every one of us is here on the whole because we've been touched by this phenomenon. This, you know, we've all had our own experiences and one thing or another. Yep. I just think it's extremely commendable. We've reached 1,000 shows. You know, we tipped over 17,000 subscribers. We've dropped a few, and you know, I like to think we're pretty grown up in here. We can agree to disagree. You know, there are political points on both sides. In America, there's political points all over the world we can disagree with or agree with. And you know, I like to think we are pretty bipartisan. I know some people won't like it. You know, we've got certain members of our chat that share that are completely polar opposite to your political views, yet they stay. I'm not going to name names.
Yeah. Hello, Kelly. We love you. But I joke back and forth with Kelly on Twitter. Kelly is a true blue Democrat. I am someone, although I have a red shirt on, I'm more in the centrist, not aligned to any particular party, but more aligned to the candidate.
I think, you know, it was Kelly. I do apologize, Kelly. You know, I didn't bring your name up, but yeah, love Kelly, you know, but we see on your opinions differ. But
But it shows we can get along and get together and come together on a particular topic.
Yeah, you agree to disagree, and that's for being an adult. We've all got things with probably everyone. Somebody says something once in a while. Probably even I have, and I know me and our lovely Tia, who's not here tonight, have agreed to disagree on certain things. I still love Tia. We move on, but it's such a great thing that this isn't a scripted show. You have genuine people. Anyone in chat at any point in time can come in and join us.
Yeah. And by the way, Andy, really quick, you see the little icon here that's animating for the super chat? You know why it does that and why it's animating?
Go on.
Because our audience members, a lot of times more women than men, will actually go ahead and give you the little animating icon without a statement. And what I wanted to get from the developer, rather than just saying the dollar amount, he didn't show the graphic, show the freaking link for the animation and let it animate. And he did it within a matter of days. But sometimes you just have to look for the right person, ask the right question to get the result. It doesn't affect just you, but affects everybody. And I think that's what we're looking for disclosure. We're looking for the bits of information to give us the effect we would like to have that everybody can share from.
Yeah, we've waited 80 years. We've waited darn sight longer than
well, probably 80,000 years, maybe longer.
Yeah. So, here's hoping it will happen in our lifetimes, but who knows? I really do believe, this is why your show is standing head and shoulders on practically every other one. It's not scripted. There are real people like me, out here in the world who can join you. It's not yours. It's not Mike's opinions. Other people can chip in and say, well, hang on, I disagree with you. And absolutely perfect. And I'm so glad we've made 1,000 shows. And long may it continue, I hope.
Yeah. And
it will continue. As long as there's a conversation to be had, you will hear Thomas and my voice in the mix. So we're not going anywhere.
Whether we have to shift to other topics and other things, bring it in, like, got to give Chris Little a pat on the back. He's been covering the situation with the potential structures underneath the Great Pyramids. It's given him a great breath to his channel, like what happened with us when we covered the drones.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Good Colonel. Yeah. Yeah.
Two people left.
Different topics.
Neil Carr and then Michael Sokoloff. Neil, what say you?
Yes, hi. In honor of your 1000th show, I just wanted to share. I'm actually on an archaeological dig here in Portland. We've found evidence of an ancient civilization. These bricks are laid down so precisely you can't fit paper between them. They're absolutely gorgeous. We find interesting artifacts in our digs. We found this ancient tunnel system as we dig out these. There's a tunnel next to the Mayan underground. Right here are very interesting because this one looks like a UFO and it's got weird symbols on it. This one is so precise. It's more precise than our own.
So what you're talking about is you're finding things in an archaeological dig in the Portland area that break the known archaeological understandings and the anthropological standings of what and where humanity should have been a long time ago. Have there been anything done to the biomaterial that's within these structures to go ahead and determine an age yet?
Well, I'll show you a discovery I made.
We've got that, but have they done anything to date the materials that are within this to give them potential age of these areas when these sediments were building up?
It dates back to exactly 21,000 years ago, which is like twice as much as other sites around the world. So when you apply sound, those stones transform to something more practical, and it's like magic here, but it's not. It's science, and I just wanted to share that with you folks. And want to become part of this dig? We can't pay you, but your help would be appreciated.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you go ahead and sharing that. Live science, I love it.
Congratulations on your 1000th show.
Thank you, sir. And let's get back to Michael in Canada. Michael, we'll see you.
So, Ed Brown, I have to agree with you partially on that UFOs or the UAPs may have something to do with biblical prophecy, but I don't agree on the date, only because the Bible does say that the hour and day will not be known. So you're on to something. I would keep digging and go beyond show 1000 to see what's going on. But so that's where I stand on that. I kind of support what you're saying, but not fully.
Yeah.
Thomas, let me jump in here real quick.
Oh,
Michael,
take it, Ed. Please do.
I appreciate that, and I do agree. I'm very familiar with that passage, which says the day and the hour will not be known. But he doesn't say the month and the year won't be.
Well, I mean, you can get technical, but we may not even know that. So,
once again, I'm being humorous. Nobody's picking up my humor today.
Yeah, well, I got it.
Ed, you're kind of like, I guess we could call you like, what's his name again? You're just basically a straight-laced comedian, meaning you're talking to a straight, like, oh God, what was his name again? George Carlin. It's not about getting in a plane. I don't get on a plane. I get in a plane, because if I get on a plane, I'm going to be standing freaking holding out of the wings as this thing takes off. You're telling it straight as you see it, but there's a twist to it, right?
I think that's called dry humor. That's what that's referred to as. Yeah.
And you do it really well.
Well, thank you very much. Well, you do this this podcast very well. I point that out.
Oh, thank you,
But
sir.
it wouldn't be nearly as good if you didn't have Mike Disclosure with you every day, too.
Oh, yeah. I've got to do this. Let me get to this here really quick.
Thank you,
here. Mike, none of your business has her hands up, but I was, Mike, I look at the analytics every so often for the overall show.
Right.
And one of the things I have to bring up is we've had an interesting change in our audience.
Okay.
Meaning that the age group of our audience is actually skewing a bit older than it has in the past. And I think that's a good thing, because I think we get along with older people, maybe a little different way. But let me go ahead and bring this up here. Where is it at? I'm going to show the actual analytics from channel. Here we go. So age and gender from the channel for the last 28 days. Let's just go live for what we've got going on. Oh, why is this stupid thing at the top? I don't want to see returning viewers anyway, so let's just get that and show this. So, age group for the audience, 65 plus, is actually eclipsing 35 to 44.
Yeah, so that means people who are wise with experience and wisdom seem to be paying attention to the content that we provide.
Yeah.
Is a good sign, I think.
In a lot of their shows, like in one of the last shows we had, 504 people are returning viewers with 74. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, it just shows a lot more returning viewers are coming back, watching the show on a regular basis, and we have an older audience, which kind of goes along with, I was actually thinking about it, what a lot of people recognize, a lot of younger people do not recognize, is, where is that at? Let me stop this. Stop button. Close that down. Here we go. Start of the show. The old phone that rings at the start of the show.
Younger generation doesn't even know what that might be.
Yeah, a lot of the people who are in the group of 35 to 44 may have not have heard that kind of a phone in their house.
Right. So what that means is have a generational humor that other people in the audience connect to. The younger members may not. It's a good point.
Exactly. Now, where do I sit? I'm actually 56. So I'm in the 26.8, but you can see for where I aim for, we've got up and down around this. So, I love our audience. I have to say that.
Oh, we do, because they're diverse and they come from different groups and different backgrounds. And that's what we encourage here on the show.
So even better, 85% of our audience in the last month are male. Female is 14.6. But you know what's not showing up even as a 0.1% user specified? So people who recognize themselves as a goldfish, for instance, don't show up on the analytics channel.
There you go. But I got to tell you, on back chat during the live show and after the show, the demographics and the percentage as far as male, female is much higher with the women that join us back here live and with the men.
We're like 30-40% on live of women who are part of our panel, and I love that.
Correct.
That was something that, W. Decker was saying a long time ago. They need to get more women in the back, and my gosh, we've got it.
We do.
Just Tia's not here today, not sure why.
Yeah.
We miss Tia, we miss Shelley, all the women who are been part of it. Also, audience-wise, right? Over the last year, I could actually go in Lifetime. There we go. Let's go into Lifetime. Let's look at the overall lifetime of the channel since we've been doing this, since we're talking about this. 61% of our audience lifetime of the channel, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let's get into this. Where is it at? 61% from the United States. 10% from 10.8% from the UK. 5.8% from our friends in Canada, although Canada's a lot bigger than the UK. We do a lot of our friends from both countries. Australia. And 1% from Germany. I guess we could go ahead and see more, but it's just, you're getting down to like, Netherlands 0.7%, Sweden 0.5%, Brazil 0.5%, New Zealand 0.3%, France 0.2%. It just goes on from there.
Right. Well, we know we have regular audience members that join us from New Zealand, Australia. Oh, yeah, on a regular basis. So we have a very diverse international audience.
Yeah. Now, if I look at the audience live, right?
Yeah.
It's only 2.5% was female versus 97%. So you can see how we've changed. If I go to the last 5 days, it's not going to give me the last 7 days. Let's go last 28 days. Here we go. 14.6. So we went from like nothing to 15%, close to 15% of our audience, women watching the show.
Yeah, but I still feel that when we look at the front chat, that there are a lot more women that are present during our live shows than there used to be.
Yeah.
And as a general, so there's definitely a bit
We've
of
got
change
Alice,
in it.
who's regular here on the show. Alice, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you being here.
And, I was hooked from the first time I saw this show. And the reason I think is because you guys are more apt to debunk something than to say it's real.
Right.
And that made me think, these guys are really into this. You're being real about it. So
it kind of comes into it, Alice, that we're not just seeing everything and just eating it like the endless UFO buffet. Now, granted, in the beginning of things, I was a little bit more, wow, look at this, oh my gosh, look at that over there. But you find people along the way that are really experts. Like if you want to hear someone talk about things about how I'm not going to say evil, how
they have an agenda.
They have an agenda. We're part of it. We are like a lab rat. We are something they deal with as a commodity, not as something with consciousness or intelligence behind it. But then again, look how we deal with all the life forms on our planet. So do we expect any difference really, Alice, between of how they look at us and we as humans look at all the other earthlings that are here besides us?
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
And it's gotten some people like Lena Thompson really upset when I brought that up, saying, oh my God, I'm a human. You can't go ahead and do that to me. I've had shit done to me as well when I was a kid. I have got latent memories of it, and there's a whole bunch of memories that all kind of like overlap different parts of something that probably happened many times. And it is what it is. There's nothing I can do to get away from it. Yeah, it's not wonderful for anybody who's involved with it, but what's different than us going ahead and tagging a caribou, going ahead and or a rhino, tranquilizing it, doing things to it for its reproductive or other things that are going on, and then let the thing go and it just comes together and it's in a daze and it just got raped. Humans have been doing this for other for other life forms in a while.
When I was a kid, I'd take the magnifying glass and like burn the ants and stuff.
I used to like kicking the anthills. That was always fun.
Did you? But I didn't think of it as life. You know, I was just
a kid.
It was an ant to me. It was like a pest.
See, for me, I was going and destroying their kingdom and their houses, and I watched them freak out when the human came and just destroyed it all, and then it was the ants trying to go ahead and deal with what the fuck is going on. God just came and destroyed us, so we rebuilt our anthill.
You're a boy, so that's a little bit why, probably.
Yeah.
The testosterone.
So you've been a part of this, you know, and as a woman at different times, you've had some concerns with regard to the general people, the audience. There's nothing wrong with that, but we talked about it, and you worked out. You've been a great contributor to this show, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, Laura,
you guys are all above my knowledge level, but it's
and what have I always said? That's fine. Don't worry about it. Ask the questions you have, because not everybody is up here or down here with respect to how we see or understand this.
Yeah, I can see that now.
Yeah, that's what we try to do. At least
we welcome everybody.
Mike and Thomas, congratulations on your 1000th show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm going to call on Laura Campbell next. You've been here for a while, and my God, you are a gold mine for information and talent. And it's just nice to have you and the network of people that you work with as, you know, part of the knowledge set that makes Disclosure Tonight for what it is.
Thank you, Thomas. It's just another piece of the puzzle that we're all trying to put together.
Right. And there's different parts of the puzzle from everywhere. It's just not like the cream of the crop. No, we're the ones who are dealing with the piping.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly.
And we need everybody's opinion because it's such a difficult topic. So
it is.
The more diversity, the more ideas, the better.
The more we talk about it, it's like going through divorce. The more you talk about it, the more things people will say, hey, have you looked about this? Have you thought about that? Well, I went through this, and this is, you know, it's those kind of things. But it's that way when we're dealing with this extension of consciousness that goes beyond the here and the now.
Yep. I'm just glad that I'm seeing the evolution of the disclosure. I don't know if they're getting their message out to the general public like they should be. They need a marketing agency, but I do appreciate the fact that they are talking about the consciousness aspect.
Yeah. They need an agent to jump up and down and yell at them like I had the late Barry Friedman, rest his soul. Great guy, a great agent. Taught me a lot. I miss him. But he's someone who I can still connect with, and I can still hear him yelling at me, and I know exactly who it is.
That's
all
awesome.
Right. And the last person, Susan Ford, the artist extraordinaire. Do you have an image that you're illustration you're working on right now? A painting that you could share? Susan.
Sorry, nothing that I'm doing at the moment. I've been busy working on setting up that NAS. It's been lots of fun.
Oh, NAS? There you go.
Yeah, they're fun. The blah blah blah. Ed's in a cheeky little mood today. What's Ed been up to that we don't know about and he does?
But he's been a lot more vocal, but you know, we love seeing Ed in his recliner, just saying.
Yeah, he's cheeky today.
Yeah.
But what you were saying about the audience, you know, the younger generation today has a very limited life attention span. You know, they're always moving on to the next thing. You know, they'll stick with it for a little while, and if it doesn't pan out, then they move on to something else. That's what I find.
Yeah. But, you know, I got to say, we've had Ashley join us in the audience and has been a part of the show, and she's younger, in a younger demographic, and has not lost interest and has participated
but I'm not
in
saying,
a lot.
I'm not saying all. I should say I'm not saying all. But I just find this young generation just like goldfish.
Some of them have the attention of a fly. I would agree with that.
Goldfish.
Susan.
Well, look at that.
Yep.
Well, when did that go up? Well, I've never seen that before.
Because when it comes down to it, Susan, it's not about disclosure for one person. It's something that's is global. It's all of us.
Yeah.
Everyone. But end this. But
it is getting the information out there, and this is why this show is really great, because it keeps up with things. It analyzes things. We all have different thoughts and opinions. No one really knows the true facts. One day, hopefully, we all will. One day. But it's a great program for nutting things out, like
Susan, I am fed up with the 1 day approach.
Yeah.
We deserve the answer now. We're tired of waiting. This has been covered up for longest time. It's about,
a simple fact. We're not alone, period.
No,
and why
we
are they
deserved
dragging
the
it
answer
out?
50 years ago. Not now. 50 years ago we deserved it.
No, it's been longer than that.
It's been a lot longer.
It's been
than
like,
that,
70 years, 80 years at this point?
An era out.
That's just Roswell, but don't forget we have the crash from 1938 from Magenta, Italy, that we have the craft from.
Mm-hmm.
We have the stuff with Operation Starfish Prime, when they blew off that high-powered nuke in orbit. It took a UAP out and it fell into the ocean, and we recovered it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of different points that have gone on throughout time, but
they used to say people couldn't handle it, but people can handle it. And that's
come on, people can't handle the president of the United States, who we have now, and they can't handle the law, the Constitution, and different things that have been passed as laws in the United States that may not be convenient for them, but they fight against it like, we're going and tearing apart democracy. No, we're using all the tools that make democracy what it truly is.
Well, and that's another thing. Is anyone sick of all this shit going on now? There's this bickering backwards and forwards, the crap being bullshit that's being posted, and I'm like so over it. Yeah, I just scroll on by, but I mean, I go like that and scroll on by. It's not worth me saying anything or whatnot. I'm over it. Just he's in. Guess what? Donald Trump is your president. Like it or lump it, that's how it is.
And you know what? They're just about to have a similar polarizing election in Canada. Are they going to take the guy who's part of the Bank of Europe and now the Bank of Canada, and he's now the current PM from the Liberal Party? Are they going to give the vote for him, or the other person who's a bit more conservative? It sounds like people are tired of the taxes. They're tired of the attacks from the government against the people, and it's a shame that we have to look at one particular party in the United States or Canada or anywhere to go ahead and find a government that's actually there to represent the people.
Yes. The tide is turning. The tides are turning, and like our country's watching your country, and the people here are going, hang about. If that shit's happening over there, you can be sure as shit is happening here.
Yeah.
We're not, people are not stupid. Not all people are stupid.
No. There's a lot of things going on in a lot of countries around the world, and they're seeing a push towards socialism, but it's actually pushing things on a road towards communism, unfortunately.
No, there is a pushback.
Yeah.
Which is good. And, like I've seen that since Trump's got in, that other countries are like, well, hang about. Yeah. We're demanding more from our leaders.
Exactly right, Susan. I agree with everything that you said. That is absolutely true. And moving forward, hopefully, at one point, truth and transparency will win out. Certainly, Thomas and I have been pushing for that the entire time, and we'll continue to do so. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Alice, your hand is up. You're next.
Yeah, what I can't understand is how the United States can look at what's happening and be so exactly polarized on what's happening with the government right now. There's people that love it. There's people that hate it. It's almost like somebody's got to be delusional. You know, one of the groups, they can't both be right. I don't think so. So it's almost like a mass delusion to me. I don't know which group is delusional, but one of them are. That's how I see it. And
you know what? It's human nature, Alice. Look at religious wars like the Spanish Inquisition and wars like that have gone on for thousands of years in humanity. Why? Because they had different opinions and they decided to kill each other over it. When you have difference of opinion, instead of being civilized and intelligent and getting along, trying to come up and work together, you have people who push back. And that's when you get dissent, and that's when you get what we're seeing now today. So not very much has actually changed for humanity in that regard. That's how I see it, Alice.
it's interesting that two people can look at the same thing happening and have exactly opposite ideas of what's really happening. That's what I don't understand. I understand what you're saying, but this is the first time in my life that I've ever seen anything like this. What's going on?
Well, do you remember when we were kids, the game telephone, where you would say one thing, and by the time it went full circle, it was something completely different?
Totally different, yeah.
It's completely like that. What's going on? It is, unfortunately. But this is the world we live in, and we have to try to find a way to deal with it and get through all that nonsense.
Yeah. It feels like
right?
feels like I'm on the crazy train with politics.
Oh my God.
You know?
Ozzy Osbourne, Crazy Train. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Crazy Train. You know, you're a parent. You have pets for the longest time. You can catch a pet puking someplace else. You just know the noise.
Oh yeah.
I was able to pick Moose up and bring him outside, let him puke inside, rather than puking inside on the freaking carpet.
Oh, that's what you were doing.
Oh yeah, you hear the noise and it's just like, oh shit. Yeah.
Good work. Yeah, you caught that quickly.
Well, what do? You deal with it in the house and you have to clean up the mess and all that shit, or do you take it outside, or you just fucking rinse it down with the hose?
Absolutely. You did the right thing.
Absolutely. All right.
Guys.
Mike, what a great show. What a great opportunity to hang out with friends. Anybody with their hands up still? We got Freezerman 71 and then Neil, and then we get to wrap this, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Go
While they're
ahead.
talking, why don't you check your DM that I sent you real quick? And we'll let them talk. It's something about Lou and Chris Mellon and the drones. Take a quick look at it.
Okay, Freezerman, you go next while I'm waiting for Twitter to make up its mind whether it's going to show me content or not. There we go. Here to post.
Go ahead, Freezerman.
And by the way, he was the person who was supposedly going to go ahead and pick up that stuff that I was talking about earlier. Return to the Hill last week. Yeah, closed door discussions with several lawmakers. Yeah, we kind of talked about this earlier. The lawmakers that Lou was meeting with were all the same people that he always meets with.
Yeah, but not about UAP, about the drones this time. Different subject.
Oh. So that was part of the conversation as well. Interesting. He didn't get the job, though. Doesn't look like it.
No, it didn't. No.
Freezerman, what say you?
Sorry, Thomas. Just on the points you guys are saying about elections and whatnot. Right now, they're on day number 2 of the advanced polls here, and the lineups to vote are like over 2 hours. People are waiting in line to vote, and they still have tomorrow and Monday. But the election here, it's very important, and I just hope the young people get out and vote. But the future of Canada might be determined after this election because this country is so divided, and the Western provinces may just separate after. It's hard to say.
Well, that almost happened in the past to where, was it Quebec or some of the eastern parts of Canada were going to try and break off? I mean, this is like, what, 10 years ago?
Quebec has had 2 referendums on sovereignty, one in 1980 and the last one was 1995.
Okay.
But this time it's coming from Alberta and the province of Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So it's, Ontario and Quebec basically run our country, and the West just has no say whatsoever. Like, we don't have enough electoral representation and whatnot, but it's a structural thing. And those
Right.
2 provinces don't want to give up their power. That's just how it is.
So why doesn't BC break away then?
Well, this is what I'm wondering myself. But the problem here is, in Metro Vancouver, it's more liberal socialist, right? But then once you get out of the Lower Mainland, it's more conservative-minded people. I mean, you could see a scenario where British Columbia as a province is broken up into multiple parts.
Right.
So it's hard to say. I can't predict, but it's just nuts. It's just nuts. And the thing is, young people here, they can't get on the property ladder. And it's our cost of living is just out the.
It's gone crazy.
It is.
The number of the taxes that they give you on everything else makes it impossible for anyone of a younger, in their 30s or younger, their opportunity to actually go ahead and buy a house.
Well, I'm also worried about myself and my generation because I don't think we're ever going to be able to retire because it's just so.
Oh God. Is Carney winning right now?
Well, they just had a French and English debate, and in both debates, he looked terrible.
Carney? Yeah.
Carney. But the problem is the 60-year-olds plus are scared, of stuff. And this is really annoying. Donald Trump is quiet. And the Liberals, their whole strategy is they're going to vilify him in order to win the election. And unfortunately, there's just too many dumb people that are buying it, right? But your demographic from 18 to 55 is wanting to vote conservative. And if the younger people and Gen X get out and vote, the conservatives could win. But it's all about getting your vote out. But we'll just have to see, Thomas. It's another, maybe nine days, and hopefully we'll find out. And because people here just need hope. People here are they're depressed, and they just feel hopeless.
Yeah. I had seen something about Carney going ahead and wanting to push to have more of Canada's housing coming from, if you want to call it factory-based or prefab housing. But then he had a high level of, if you want to call it, mute yourself, TVT. Let me do it for you. There you go. Here. Console. Mute. There we go. Getting back to you, Freezer Man. It's just, but he actually has interest in corporations, and that's the kind of housing that they actually build. So it's
Brookfield Management, the financial company he was in charge of. One of their things was modular housing.
Yep.
He wants to build modular housing on a big scale in Canada. Well, guess who's going to benefit? His company that he was CEO of.
Right.
So the corruption here is insane. And what's been happening the last few days is the interference of the CCP in our elections. There was one story that came out was in Canada, we have a problem with the secret Chinese police stations.
Right.
Right. And there was a nonprofit organization in Quebec for Chinese immigrants. And it's now come out that the Quebec government and the federal government gave them money, and that they both knew that this organization had a Chinese police station in it.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm taking too much time, Thomas.
No, that's fine. This is something that's been on my radar for what's going on because, yeah, there's a lot of animosity and different things brought up against between the United States and Canada. But I never have seen any of my friends from Canada or anything any differently for what the things that are going on. And we're dealing with our governments not getting along versus us not getting along. And your election is important to me as much as our election is. And elections anywhere around the world that kind of are dealing with this globalist or localist approach where, Canada first versus globally first.
Well, for me, the most important relationship that Canada has is with the United States.
Yeah.
We've lived side by side as family for hundreds of years now. And it should be Fortress North America.
Yeah.
Canada should not be looking to China. It should be, and it just blows my mind that people up here don't get that. No. They don't understand that they're voting against their own interests.
And I don't think Trump, someone's saying in the audience, Trump likes Carney. I think Trump likes Paul Vieira.
I apparently endorsed him, but I don't know why. Yeah.
Is that a double-sided compliment? Meaning I'm going to endorse you to hopefully make sure that you're not going to win?
That's one I would think, but also there has been people speculating that Carney and Trump have done business deals in the past. And that's maybe why he did it, but that doesn't make any sense. So but I'm, as far as BC going alone, I think the only way that would happen is if Alberta and Saskatchewan did separate and BC was stuck, because it would be literally cut off from the rest of the country. So
we got a lot of hands that are up back here right now.
Oh God! And the audience has been going crazy, and someone got actually the El Kabong as well deserved. Thank you, Andy. Neil Carr, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm losing cell phone power, but my message. It's a message of hope. The future is ours. I mean, to write, we can make it or break it, and why don't we make it? I truly believe that globally, people are going to become more fed up and wake up, and it's going to be an organic transformation. I really truly believe, and may even see it in our lifetime.
Hey, we already have it now. We already have NVIDIA shifting all of their massive AI GPU chip and circuit board creation to the United States. So there are changes going all over the place. People said things couldn't happen, but you try a little bit here and there over a number of years, it just happens. Well, nothing's impossible unless you try. You'll be able to work it out by and by.
AI can teach us how to treat each other better because it delivers a way better human experience sometimes than humans sometimes. But we can learn from that and have it role model better things. But I just say each of us has a responsibility to visualize the future that you want the world to be, because each of us have our own version of it.
And we have an ability to change our local space and time. Thought you can actually make the future happen through thought. So it's a matter of just going and dealing with that.
You're on board with this. Yeah. We need to get this message out more.
Yeah. Thank you, Neil. Appreciate that. Let's get on to Michael and then last comment from Alice.
Yeah, I understand the capitalism and why so many people like it. But is there any type of government that doesn't have, and I'm not talking communist, but that doesn't have people with so much money they don't know what to do with it, and people like Freezer Man has no hope for the future, or very little hope for the future?
Yeah.
Is there anything that we as a world can do? I wonder. Do you know of any kind of government that is equal without being communist? Well, they're not really equal to either, are they?
No, they're not.
Well, they have been talking about with the advent of AI, and a lot of people in certain industries losing their jobs moving forward. They're proposing with the profits that are generated from the AI to produce some sort of a universal basic income for everybody. So that's kind of a balance if they move forward on that, Alice.
Yeah, I saw this guy that claimed to come from the future, and he said that they didn't use cash anymore, but everybody got an allowance. You get $200 for clothing or $700 for, but that's what he said was happening. You know, I'm skeptical on all those things, but that's what he said was going to happen by 2028, actually.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Before we go, okay, so Michael Sokoloff, your hand is still up. Go ahead, Michael. Sorry, we missed you on that one.
That's okay, Thomas. I'm used to it. I have to say that my point of view of Canadian politics is much different than Frieserman's. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mark Carney is 10 times more qualified to be Prime Minister of Canada than Pierre Poilievre. He has tons of experience in different lines of work, all related to the economy. So that's why people are flocking to Carney, because he's just more experienced and makes a lot more sense. And despite what the opposition has said about negative things that they've said about him, they're not true. So, you know, take your poison and go with it. But BC is not going to separate. Alberta doesn't have the numbers to separate, and neither does Saskatchewan. Because and if they did, they would be landlocked provinces.
So they'd be a perfect opportunity to become another 3 more states of the United States then.
Well, that would mean how many more senators? 6?
Well, that's
that
fine.
Would break the tie.
Doesn't matter.
That would break the tie.
That's good. There's always something positive to look for, my friend.
And then you'd all be Democrats forever.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. I got you on that. Absolutely. Now, I appreciate that insight. Mike, I want to get to one last thing before we call it a close. Sound good for you?
Yeah, it sounds perfect.
I have some
If
final
you joined
thoughts
us.
about Disclosure coming from Alan Levine.
Oh, okay. It should be good.
And I just want to read this out because I'm in a great conversation with Alan and Mike and other stuff, the other Mike. And Alan says, Disclosure will happen, just not to the general public's satisfaction. The general public, at least those that are vested in Disclosure, don't see the admission of NHI engaging with us in the same light as the example for the plans of a nuclear weapon, or the newest stealthy spy plane, or even diplomatic communications. But the reality is much, much, much higher. At some point, a world leader, likely the President of the United States, hopefully, will step up to the microphone and openly share, quote, "We are not alone," end quote. Though much of the disappointment of the curious, just as they are never going to post the nuclear trigger schematics on YouTube, the admission that we are not alone will be the final word. You will never hear, or you will never, ever, ever be allowed even see a brake pedal off a UFO. Something Mike, you've talking about, or even a screw for that matter.
Right, exactly.
Let alone meet the pilot. In fact, just like nuclear secrets, now that they've acknowledged that they are secrets, they'll be able to protect from the release under the legal threat of capital punishment. You only have to look at the Rosenbergs to realize that when it comes to keeping things secret, they will bring the weight of the state down on you. No one will ever be allowed beyond the highest members of world governments to might speak with off-world inhabitants, because the kind of threat to earthly government authority is simply far, far too great. So the admission is coming, and you'll be told the best, quote, you'll be told, quote, the best men in science, academia, anthropology, physics, and government are working on it, end quote. Still, the government will be treated like mushrooms. Lou Elizondo was right. Disclosure has come well over 200 members of the U.S. government 3 years ago. Rubio is well aware of what Grusch knows, just as he is aware of the strategic nuclear war plans in the event of hostiles as Secretary of State. Though you'll never, ever be given those details, no more than a simple confirmation, as Lou describes it, that we are not alone. No further questions will ever be allowed, tolerated, and you only have to look at the COVID or the UK today to see the questions will absolutely not be tolerated. Some strong words to say, this is where we're at with disclosure. Get prepared for a lockdown, Mike, on the truth.
Well, I agree with everything that he said. And you know that Alan and I don't always see eye to eye, but with this and the points that he's made, I agree with him 100%. Yep. He's absolutely right. And I also think that we got a preview of this exactly when you remember shortly after Joe Biden was elected, former President Barack Obama had come out publicly on a late night talk show and said that the government knows, and the president, meaning him, is aware that we have objects in our skies that we don't know what they are and what's going on. And that was a public disclosure coming from a former president. I think we're going to get a taste. That was a preview of moving forward. If they do make such an announcement, it's going to sound a lot like what he already said publicly to us.
Yep.
That's what I think. What do you think?
I think you're on target, my friend. There's interesting times ahead our way. Again, Lou is saying things are moving slowly, but they're still moving. But are they really?
Yeah, good point. And we make these points regularly on the show.
Yeah. That's why I put the question mark at the start of the show, Mike, on the title card. Where is that at? There we go. Is it time for disclosure? Question mark. Because we're ready for it. The public's ready for it. But the government, not even close.
Right. And that's what we call out every chance we get. Because that's where we seem to be at. So the public is informed.
Absolutely. Great show, Mike, today. Yeah. Great conversation.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? 3 hours. Yeah, we had a hell of a show, hell of a conversation.
Yeah. I'm looking at the clock. Yeah, it is almost 3 hours. Holy cow. So, yeah, it's been 3 hours since we've been in the back, Mike. I want to go ahead and give some thanks to our audience who threw out some super chats this way. David Williams, congrats on your 1,000th show. Elon McGinnis, $4.99. Matthias Wilkenstein. Great conversation to talk about with Ed. Maybe all the religions have kernels of the truth. Potentially, woke us again. Actually Matthias again. Maybe NHI itself wants to slow down disclosure. We said no. It sounds like they're trying to move it forward. And also Kane Northrup, FaZe Will, and Freezerman71. Thank you everybody for love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure tonight. More importantly, I want to go ahead and thank everybody in the chat who's still been out there, because the chat is where it's been at. Who do we still have out there in our conversation right now? I want to thank Ann, Joanne, Amiga Rules, Andy W, Black Belt Jones, Colonial Robinson, D7, Eli McGinnis, and Ghost Fixer. How about that? Thank you all for coming out here today. Heiser Soze, along with Evan B, Kathy, Kenneth Wenrick, Marcus the Mandels, Metal Gaming, Michael Lind, Mick, Nancy Kuzmano, Neil Carr, Raymar's been here, also known as Kath, Sam, and Snarf McGrew, Tallywhacker, Todd T, and When Weebs React. How about that? You know, there's some other names have popped in, but I missed you. Thank you all for coming out here to today's episode of Disclosure tonight, and that gets us on to... That is too loud. Come on. All right, let's pull that down. I also want to thank our friends that have been in the back today. Thank you for coming in today, Alice.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm very honored to be a part of this, and congratulations again.
And thank you for being here, my friend. Absolutely. It's wonderful to have you as part of our regular call-ins. Also want to go ahead and thank Andy. Appreciate you coming out today, my friend. Happy Easter.
My pleasure, mate. Yeah, great show, great 1000th episode, and long may they continue.
Yeah. Well, hope to see you in the back, my friend. Next, Ed Brown, recliner in chief. Thanks for coming out today, Ed.
It was good being with you today, Thomas, and happy anniversary. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Unfortunately, you're not going to get to the next 1000 show because the world's going to end in September of 2026.
No. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. Freezer Man, appreciate you coming in, making sure the freezers are at the right temperature.
No problem, Thomas, and congratulations on your 1000th show. And there will be 1,000 more. I have confidence in you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, just take a bit longer because a lot of those numbers got up there quickly when we were doing 7 days a week, or 6 days. Yeah, we were doing 7 for a while. Thank you for coming in, my friend. Also, Laura Campbell. Thank you for being here, Laura.
It's a pleasure always, and happy Easter, everyone. Stay positive. We've got hearings coming. It's going to be a fun road.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But just set your expectations so you don't get over-anticipated, and then we want to stay happy all the time.
Yep.
Thank you, Laura. Also, then, Neil Carr from the great state of Oregon. Thanks for coming in today, Neil.
Yeah, my pleasure. I didn't even notice your 1000th show. I was just showing up. But what a great show. And what a, I just love the community and the chat, and all of you are really important to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's get to Anania Business. Susan, appreciate you being here. Susan Ford. All right. Let's get on to, Sergeant Daniel. Appreciate you coming out today, Daniel.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Nanya.
Yeah, great show today, Thomas. We just cover so many things. It's brilliant. I love hearing everyone's ideas and.
I'm sorry, Nanya.
And try and put that in a 100-word description for the show, for the title. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate it. Daniel, thank you for coming out tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been doing some work while I've been listening tonight, but there's a lot accomplished.
Thank you, my friend. And if we can, actually, that's not loud enough. Let's do it again. There we go. Mike, appreciate you coming out today.
Oh, the 1000th show. Are you kidding me? It was fun. Good conversation. It was Easter weekend. So, yeah, we checked a lot of boxes on the bingo card for today.
Easter weekend, and nobody knew about the Armageddon that happened in Brooklyn.
Exactly.
Absolutely. My friend, thank you for coming out today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. It was a fun show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody enjoyed it. So did I.
Absolutely. And as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody, but
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. See you all Monday, everybody. Y'all come back now. Here, take care. Bye-bye.